If you've ever fist pumped for your team's first round selection, go ahead and hit that like and subscribe button, folks, and welcome back to another episode of Benzinga's Pre-Market Playbook, where we wrap up yet another week here. And although the volume was low, there was plenty of stuff to go over and trade, and it looks like we're getting a little bit more of that here this morning. Got it last night with Intel's earnings. TSM is ripping. The market pops big here today. So this Friday there's going to be stuff to do. That is for sure. And on top of that, we have the return of Anne-Marie today. We also have Mark Putrino. We have the weekend. Super excited about all of it. Also, day 2 of the draft, obviously. Benzinga's Pre-Market Playbook, the Friday edition for April 24th, 2026, begins right now. Good morning and welcome back, folks. I hope that you all had a wonderful Wednesday. Hope that you were just as excited as I was about it. Really great stuff all night last night. And I'm seeing a comment that I'm muted. You guys can hear me, right? You guys can hear me? Producer, let me know. You can hear me? Everything's good? I think everything's good. Cad Monkey might just be muted himself. Anyway, welcome back, folks. I hope that you all had a wonderful Thursday. We're back to wrap the week up. Remember, we've got a big week of earnings next week with a lot of the AI hyperscalers coming on. But that doesn't mean today won't be something for us to go over. So big pop here in the market. We're going to go ahead and break it down, and it's Friday. It's Friday, so you know what the only big requirement on Friday is that we have some fun, and I can assure you we're going to do that here today. Peter is back and is first. Welcome back, Peter. It's good to have you. VIX is at 19. We'll see if we go lower than that. Good morning. Francis, good morning. Derek, good morning. Derek says, been at this a little over 3 months. First time having consecutive day losses. That's actually not bad for 3 months. Any advice on how to get past this besides looking back at trades? Yeah, looking back at trades and journaling is going to be really important, but a couple of things here. First of all, Derek, 2 days in a row of day trades being down is not the end of the world. That is going to happen again. So whatever happens from this time around, be sure to apply it the next time it happens, because it will happen. One suggestion that I have for that is diversify the portfolio. I know a lot of people want to get into day trading. All they want to do is day trade. They want to be flat every night with their entire account. I don't think that's the best way to do it. And I come to that conclusion from personal experience. On days where I make bad day trades or I don't make good ones, I generally have something else that I feel pretty good about. And that's enough to keep my confidence going. There's always going to be another trade. There's always going to be another setup. There's always going to be another news catalyst. So as long as you don't wipe yourself out, you're going to have another opportunity to go back and make up for that. This is really the crux of learning how to lose before you learn how to win. It's much easier to go through things when everything's going well. But when things don't go well or don't go as planned, how you deal with that adversity really kind of carves out how you're going to be at this over the long run. So I would say, number one, keep your head up. Number two, probably want to diversify into some investments and swings just to keep the confidence level high. And then number three is get right back at it. And if you're worried because you've looked at red arrows, reduce size. Reduce size, get green on the screen. That's going to be goal number one. I know that you can do this without a doubt. Crispy Biscuit, good morning. Welcome back. Marty, good morning. Welcome back. Zach, good morning. Welcome back. Gen Z Pool Guy, good morning. It's great to see you. Whis, good morning. Whis, do you have any good tracks on the docket this weekend? I don't know what's going on with the weather here in Chicago, but it gets cold for Saturday and Sunday. It's like the universe saying, no, you can't golf. The days that you're stuck behind a computer, we're going to make it 75 or 80 and sunny, but you can't go anywhere because you've got work to do. But on the weekend, overcast, rainy, 50 degrees. Get your ass in the simulator. Let me know if you have what track you're going to hit this weekend. I'm still looking for myself. Irving, good morning. What do we think about Intel? A big pop. This group too, also, whether it's the happy hour group or the morning show, we've been talking about Intel for a long time. And we've had 2 instances where Intel has traded below $20 and it's looked like a good buy. First time it went to 50. This time it went to 80 something, 87 in the pre-market. Just unbelievable. Definitely would not chase this move. And then on a more macro level, I would say it's not about the best chips anymore. It's about just who can make the chips. And Intel is hitting that. So this is the reaction that you're seeing here today. I definitely think it'll be on deck here for a day trade as well. Yes, that girl, good morning. Welcome back. Robert, good morning. Jane, good morning. Welcome back. Buffalo by Bicycle, good morning. 08 Roush Stage 3, good morning. Dan Nick, great to see you as always. Good morning, boss. Producer locked in and ready to go. Producer, what tracks are you hitting this weekend? I've totally forgot to ask you when we were actually doing work this morning. That's fun. Legendary Fighters Club. That is a sick handle. Good morning. Welcome back. Carlos, good morning. Welcome back. Marionette, it's great to see you as always. Good morning. Bernhard, good morning. Linda, good morning. Cam, good morning. Cam already smashed like. Folks, be like Cam. Be like Cam. Smash that like button. If you don't like smashing things, gently click it so that it is on. It's a free way to support us. We really appreciate that. Kelly, good morning. Acorns, good morning. Cad Monkey, good morning. Cad Monkey, thanks for throwing me a curveball earlier today. Cam, good morning. Dirkus, good morning. Scott, good morning. It's good to have you here. Me Every Time 21, good morning. G-Cord, good morning. Lion, it's great to see you as always. Just passing through, good morning. Knights Lance, good morning. Debt AI, good morning. Ed Edwards, good morning. Robot to Trade, good morning. Pot G, good afternoon. What's going on? Remember, Pot G's name has nothing to do with cannabis. I was rather amused by that yesterday. Tom, good morning. Welcome back. Reggie, good morning. Welcome back. It's great to have you. Matthew, good morning. Welcome back. Zach, I like this. Waiting is trading. That has been one of the best insights that's helped me. That is, you know what? I don't know if I've ever heard it said like that. But the other way I've heard it said is that 95% of what we do as traders is wait. We're not actually just kind of clicking buttons all day back and forth. No, we're waiting. We're waiting for setups. We're waiting for things to materialize. I like this. I like the way that you put that. Waiting is trading. It's a huge part of it. And I'll tell you something else. If you're an active trader and you're sitting around not doing anything, it's very, very easy to get the feeling like, oh, I'm FOMO, I'm missing something, or I need to be doing this. No, you don't. You actually don't need to do that. If you have a plan and you're staying on top of it, you don't need to be clicking. I like that a lot, Zach. Appreciate that. Maverick, good morning. Welcome back. Brian, good morning. Welcome back. Brian says, when I lose small. When I win big. Sizing up and scaling out are necessary skills. I could not agree more with that. And I'll be honest with you, Brian, I don't know that there's ever an end point to that. I still am working on scaling out. I mean, a lot of the time with some of these day trades, especially with like these 0 DTE calls, like I'll have 10, right? I'll buy a starter position of 10. It'll go up and I'll sell the whole thing because I've made several $100s on a very quick pop. It can go down just as quickly. So when I get the money, I like to book it. But probably what I should be doing is scaling out of that, right? Maybe selling 5 of them, let the other 5 run, or maybe even add if I have a concrete plan that ends up working out. A lot of other ways to do that. You're on to something really big here. I think the most important thing there, if you have losses, keep them small. And if you're day trading something, you can always buy it back, right? So if you are selling something because it goes against you, just to keep a small loss on your book as opposed to a bigger one, but then the stock ends up reversing and doing what you thought it would later in the day, no reason you can't buy that back. You just still have to handle that FOMO and utilize your risk management skills. It's really good stuff. Nice little conversation here this morning. Roostan, good morning. It's good to have you here, of course. Nice to see you again. Butcher, good morning. Welcome back. Let's see. Who else did I miss here? Bigabees, good morning. Kimo Sabi, good morning. Welcome back. Who else am I missing? Mo Chillin, good morning. YM89, this is the best trading channel. You're one of the best viewers. So right back at you, Slick. Good morning. Welcome back. Rustam says the less you trade, the more you earn. Honestly, that is the case sometimes. Like over trading can really eat into your profits. Sanal is asking, will Intel go down? Yes, it will also go up. Thanks for playing. Lance Black, good morning. Welcome back. All right, folks, let's go ahead and get started with our stock market today. All right, green arrows here in the futures. The Dow is actually sitting right on a potential red-green. What's notable about this is that the futures were actually red this morning, but have since reversed. And it actually looks like this happened because of a tweet about a high-ranking Pakistani government source saying that there could be breakthroughs today. I'll cover that tweet in a little bit in the Street Tweet segment, but it looks like that's what the pop we're getting here in the market is on. So S&P futures up 0.42%. Dow futures holding it unchanged, actually down 0.01%. So basically right at that unchanged line. NASDAQ futures leading the way higher, as you would expect on the back of the Intel earnings, plus 1.31%. Now let's take a look at some cues from last session here. The utilities, industrials, and consumer staples sectors recorded the biggest surge on Thursday. Information technology, consumer discretionary, and financials recorded the biggest decline. U.S. stock futures were mixed on Friday following Thursday's decline after President Trump announced the extension of the ceasefire between Israel and Lebanon by 3 weeks. On Thursday, the Dow Jones Index closed 179 points lower, as investors gauged the evolving Middle East conflict and a downturn in the software sector. Meanwhile, the 10-year Treasury bond yield stood at 4.316%, and the 2-year bond was at 3.83%. CME Group's Fed Watch Tool projections show that the market is still pricing in a 99.5% likelihood that the Federal Reserve leaves the current interest rates unchanged next week in the April meeting. Now, we have several stocks in focus here for you today. The first one is going to be probably the most obvious. This is absolutely Intel. Ticker is INTC, and they reported better than expected first quarter results and issued second quarter guidance above estimates. Intel shares surged 22.64% in pre-market trading. They're actually higher now. Intel Q1 adjusted EPS of 29 cents beat the 1 cent estimate. Big beat there. Estimate are the sales of $13.57 billion beat the estimate of $12.42 billion. So another big beat there. Intel sees Q2 adjusted EPS of 20 cents versus 9 cents. They see sales of $13.8 billion to $14.8 billion versus $13.06 billion. So a really good beat, a really good guide. That's really what's driving Intel here today. Again, if you can make chips, the market is going to reward you. That's the environment that we're in right now. No question about it. The next stock on our list is going to be SAP SE, and the ticker on this one is SAP. They reported better than expected results in the first quarter with earnings per share of 201 compared to the estimate of 192. SAP shares surged. Easy for me to say. SAP shares surged 6.52% in the pre-market here today. The next stock on our list is going to be Lunai Bioworks, and the ticker on this one is LNAI. And on Thursday, it announced that it executed a binding transaction worth $20 million with Kleeman Group for its blood-brain barrier technology. LNAI shares surged 15.29% in the pre-market here today. The next stock on our list is going to be a good one, Procter & Gamble. Ticker is PG, and they are going to post, or they were scheduled to post quarterly earnings this morning of $156 per share on revenue of $20.52 billion. PG shares slipped 0.66% in pre-market trading. Since then, those earnings are out. The adjusted EPS of 159 beat the 156 estimate, and sales of $21.23 billion beat the $20.51 billion estimate. Procter & Gamble also affirms fiscal year 26 adjusted EPS guidance of 683 to 709. That was versus the 695 estimate. And they affirmed fiscal year 2026 sales guidance of $85.127 billion to $88.49 billion. That was versus the estimate of $86.56 billion. So another good report there for Procter & Gamble. And actually, let's see how Procter & Gamble is doing here today. They are up this morning. It closed at 144.60 yesterday, and they are printing 150.5 here this pre-market. They actually had a high of over 151 earlier today. The last stock on our list is going to be FreeCast, and the ticker on this one is CAST, ticker CAST. It signed an agreement with DirecTV Multifamily for distributing its streaming services nationally. CAST shares soared 61.9% in pre-market trading. All right, let's go back to the chart here in Pro. Let's take a look at where we sit. And frankly, it's very similar to yesterday. Not a whole lot has changed. We basically traded sideways. We're sitting here up by 0.5% in the pre-market. We are still above the trend line that served as our breakout trigger on this last move up here. And yesterday, we traded down, but we actually came up off the low. So the end result looks like another back test of this trend line. So we've now been above this trend line. This will be the 6th session that we've spent above this trend line. And of the previous 5 sessions, we've back tested the trend line twice and held both times. So as we sit here today, this actually sets up for, this is bullish in my opinion. It actually sets up for a potential move higher. Now we'll see if we get that today, or maybe it might kind of wait till next week. If we do get it today, I would say it's still a good idea to remain somewhat cautious, maybe not even cautious, maybe nimble is a better description. Remember, next week we're going to have the Fed meeting, and then we have a slew of a lot of these AI earnings. So next week, things are going to change a lot, and I would expect us to either break up or break down from this area. That's kind of where I think here sitting today. If I had to choose one, I would choose a breakout. Corporate earnings have been good. I still think the war is winding down there, even though it's slightly over Trump's initial timeline. And we had some more news on that here this morning. Again, we'll see if it goes back and forth. There seems to be a lot of that going on. If I had to pick, I would say that we'd break out, but I think next week we're going to know for sure. We'll see what happens here today. We've been trading up on light volume. With it being a Friday, perhaps it's going to be yet another day here of light volume. We'll see how it ends up shaking out. Okay, now let's talk a little bit about Intel, right? And actually, you know what we can do? We can actually just start with the chart. Might as well do that. We're already here. Might as well take a look at that. No insights from analysts here today. The insights we're going to give you are when Mark Putrino shows up. He's been an absolute ace. Here's what we got. Here's what we got on Intel. So again, I talked recently about having several trades on this. We had the first initial gap down where this thing really kind of defended 1920-ish. We had another trade here when it looked like that bottom was put in. And then we had another trade here when this thing, broke and gapped and broke above the 500-day and then back tested it. It's gone on a huge run since then. So Intel is absolutely killing it. If we go to a monthly chart, this is what it looks like. And yeah, we broke the all-time highs. So all those poor fools that invested in Intel at $75 back in 2000, they are finally green 26 years later on their position. Now, I say that tongue-in-cheek here, but this is obviously an extremely impressive move for Intel. And to be quite honest with you, just kind of playing devil's advocate here, if you're looking at this chart and you're thinking, boy, these aren't the 2-nanometer AI chips that everyone wants and this, that, and the other thing, and Intel, earlier last year was $20, and here we are in the 80 handle, and it's simply moved too far too fast. If that's the position that you're in, I don't blame you. I honestly don't. The grind up here from let's call it the mid 20 handle. Let's just go with that. This grind up here, pretty good. The sentiment around Intel wasn't very good at all. They obviously had the CEO transition to Lip Bhutan, who it looks like now is doing a great job. Remember when that first started, Trump didn't really like him. They met. Now this is what's happened. This can really change pretty quickly. The grind up here, though, not all that crazy, but recently, this move here from March, Intel was at March 30th, Intel had a share price in a $42 handle. It is double that today, and it is April 24th. In not even a month, this company has doubled in value. Now, the good news here, if I continue to zoom out, you'll notice that, and this is a daily, so this is going to go back a long way. You'll notice that this blue line up here, this was actually a trend line. And if we go back to the monthly, you can see exactly what I did. We do this every single day. I basically just connected the highs. If we go back to the daily chart here, you can see that the price of Intel basically went to this trend line and then kind of consolidated and chopped around here a little bit. Now we get these blowout earnings. It's moving higher here, and it's higher here by kind of a lot, right? So from the trend line to the current price right now, we're up 27%. Normally in a case like this, I would say, hey, let's maybe back test this trend line. Let's back test this level. Let's see if it wants to hold. And if it does hold, that actually might make for a swing long entry here. With this being 27% higher than that, I don't know that we get that right away. And I think that if we were to get that today, if this were to come back in and test that trend line here today, I think you'd have a lot of people scratching their heads on this. So I'm curious to hear from the group. What do you think trading wise? I am certainly not going to get on any show or make any video where I get on and say, yeah, the stock's popped 27% to new all-time highs. Now's the time to buy it. I think if you have Intel, great. This is definitely a really good opportunity to ring the register and at least book some of that, even if you have a long-term view on this. And if you still want this here, I think it's probably beneficial to wait until the stock sells off for whatever reason. It's going to at some point. That's just my thoughts on the chart. It has moved pretty quick. I don't really think chasing the performance here is the best idea. But I also don't know if it's really going to pull back to that breakout line here. Dead AI says Intel to 100. I wouldn't even fight you on that. Astro Kev says Intel has more room to go. Wouldn't fight you on that either. Lion here saying Intel is on the right path now, but still has a lot of work to do. I would agree with that. Remember, Lion, when we talked about Intel getting on the right path, we compared this to like a big ship. Right. It takes a while to turn that thing around. And it looks like it's happened kind of faster than we thought. And maybe there's some more legs to that. Now Intel is got bit hype and bro, I don't even know what the hell you just tried to say there. I think you're trying to say that Intel has a lot of hype right now. And it's basically a momentum name. I would agree with that too. Okay, let's get to the story here on Intel. As mentioned on Thursday, Intel climbed nearly 19.95% in after-hours trading, went up to $80.10 after closing at $68.78. It was up 2.31% in the regular session. So you could probably make the argument that someone might have known the number anyway. That wouldn't surprise me. Stronger than expected first quarter results. The chip maker reported earnings of 29 cents per share, which far exceeded the consensus estimate of 1 cent. Revenue came in at $13.58 billion, topping expectations of $12.42 billion and rising from $12.67 billion last year. Market commentator Jim Cramer, never a stranger to making some news, he struck a bullish tone. Quote, "The paranoid Intel is back. Really terrific conference call," end quote. In a separate post, Cramer added, quote, "Intel can still be bought, but so can AMD and ARM, the latter being the horse to be on now," end quote. He was referencing, of course, ticker AMD Advanced Micro Devices and ARM Holdings, ticker ARM. Futurum Group CEO Daniel Newman took to social media and said that Intel shares are reaching record levels even before its foundry business begins to make a meaningful contribution. Quote, "Intel still has a bright future, and it's still very early," end quote. Deepwater Asset Management's managing partner, Gene Munster, took to X. Find it here. Whoa. He took to X and said that Intel's results reflect a broader industry trend tied to artificial intelligence. Quote, "Results go beyond Intel and remind us how early we are in the AI build-out," end quote. He also shared a video from his appearance on CNBC in which he noted that his firm had exited its position in Intel. He described Intel as a company that has been on the ropes, to which I would agree, with declining revenue and talent departures, but is now showing signs of a sharp turnaround. And remember, that's not easy to do with a company the size of Intel. Munster framed the shift as part of a broader industry dynamic, saying that the surge reflects a rising tide driven by accelerating demand for AI infrastructure. On Wednesday, Elon Musk said Tesla plans to use its Intel's next generation 14A manufacturing process for chips at the proposed Terafab facility in Austin. So a lot going on here with Intel. They really have been killing it. And it's, I'm with you folks, and I'm with the experts here that think there's more to go. My only concern as we sit here today is that it's kind of moved too far, too fast. So I think there's going to be more stories about all of the different things that they're involved in. Like we're talking here about Elon Musk and the manufacturing process for the chips. That's great news. I think we're going to see more of that, but I still think you're going to get some sell-offs, and those sell-offs would be the place to add, not after a 27% pop. The move with the Terafab facility in Austin could mark Intel's first major external customer for its advanced foundry technology, which is a key step in competing with Taiwan Semiconductor. Analyst Ming-Chi Ku noted that the limited alternatives likely played a role as Taiwan Semiconductor manufacturing capacity remains heavily booked, while rivals focus on other higher margin opportunities. So Intel, AMD, ARM, basically anything chips has been dominating here, even some of the legacy chips that were turnaround stories. Now, just some more information on this next story here. Let me actually make sure I'm sharing the right thing. This next story here, Intel CEO Lip-Bu Tan is excited about partnering with Tesla on those 14A chips we just spoke about. Quote, can think of no better partner than Elon Musk, end quote. Let's dive into this a little bit here too. In 2025, Intel CEO Lip-Bu Tan said the company could exit its chip manufacturing business if it failed to secure external customers. Today, however, the company's shares surged as Elon Musk's Tesla, ticker TSLA, signaled plans for a deal. The rally followed Intel's strong first quarter earnings and comments from CEO Lip-Bu Tan, highlighting a deepening collaboration with Musk's companies that include Tesla, SpaceX, and XAI. Quote, I can think of no better partner than Elon Musk, end quote. Tan said that on Thursday during Intel's earnings call. He went on to say, quote, we are excited to explore innovative ways to refactor silicon process technology, end quote. Earlier on Wednesday, it was reported that Tesla plans to use Intel's next generation 14A manufacturing process for its Terafab AI project, marking a potential breakthrough moment for Intel's struggling foundry ambitions. Musk earlier said Tesla plans to use Intel's 14A process for its Terafab AI chip complex in Austin, a project aimed at powering robotics, autonomous systems, and data center workloads. The agreement could become Intel's first major customer win for its advanced manufacturing node, and that would be notable. Intel's 14A technology is central to its efforts to compete with Taiwan's leading chip maker, Taiwan Semiconductor. Of course, the ticker is TSM. They want to keep competing in that global foundry market. During the earnings call, Tan said Intel is engaging with multiple customers and highlighted that the Tesla partnership remains in the early stages. Quote, it is a very broad relationship, and we will update you as we go, end quote. Finished off with, we have multiple other customers we are engaging, so stay tuned, end quote. Maybe some of Trump's showmanship rubbed off. Who knows? Analysts have viewed the deal as a potential validation of Intel's turnaround strategy, which hinges on attracting external chip manufacturing clients amid the surging AI-driven demand. And for anyone joining late here, Intel did report earnings of 29 cents per share on the quarter, which far exceeded the analyst consensus estimate of 1 cent per share. That was according to Benzinga Pro data. Revenue for the period came in at $13.58 billion, which beat the Wall Street expectation of $12.42 billion by 9.28%. and rising from $12.67 billion a year earlier. Looking ahead, Intel's projected second quarter adjusted earnings of 20 cents per share is well above the 9-cent estimate and forecasts revenue between 13.8 and 14.8 billion, which is compared with the analyst expectations of 13.07 billion. So again, just a really great quarter here for Intel, a good call. And it looks like there's still future prospects here. So the pop likely not going to be short-lived. Still, though, for the purpose of trading, long-term investing, I can't help it. I would just say wait and buy it on days where it's down, not necessarily days where it's absolutely popping off. One more story here before we get to Mark Putrino. I know we're at 8:30 here. We're going to get to Mark, but I did want to cover this, especially for Kathy, because Kathy brought this up the other day. So let me get to this here, Kath. Where are you? Maybe it's not. Okay, let me just go to it here. Comfort Systems. Kathy, you asked about this yesterday. This was ticker FIX. This did report earnings here. The company posted earnings of $10.51 per share, which beat the consensus estimate of $6.78 per share. Revenue came in at $2.865 billion, and ahead of the $2.34 billion estimate. Gross profit margins expanded to 26.3% from 22%. It's got a strong cash position. Chief Executive Officer Brian Lane said the company delivered unprecedented results, highlighting 51% organic revenue growth and more than a doubling of per share earnings compared with the prior year period. He added that the company generated more than $375 million in quarterly cash flow. So, Kathy, you asked me yesterday. I said I didn't have a position on it. I said I wouldn't be trading it for earnings, but I said I expected them to post a good number. That's exactly what they did here. So, your stock fix. Congratulations. I think you said that you were going to play this here for earnings or you were going to hold it through earnings. Fix closed yesterday at 1773. It is currently trading at 1865 here in the morning. It was above 1900 earlier today. That chart, by the way, just looks awesome. That chart looks absolutely awesome. So, all right, let's get back to Benzinga Pro here, and let's go ahead and bring on Mark Putrino. Let's see how he's doing. All right, Mark. First thing I'm going to ask you is how you're doing.
Hey, how are you?
I'm good. So I'm glad we got that out of the way. The second thing I want to ask you here is what did you feel about the Patriots last night? Did they solve their Will Campbell problem?
I think it's more about Mike Vrabel's problem at this point.
Yeah, Brown and Diana Rossini to the Patriots is brewing right here, but we'll discuss that another day. The only reason I asked, they obviously drafted that left tackle. And I think Will Campbell probably kicks in the guard. He really struggled in the playoffs, so we'll see if that makes a marketable difference here. But Mark, yeah. It's great to have you. I hope you enjoyed it. I'm looking forward to tonight.
Yeah. I mean, we'll see. I don't really follow college football too much, other than UConn. So I don't really know all the college guys as well as some people probably do.
Yeah, I've been getting more and more into it. So as you can see, I'm quite addicted to it.
But I do know if you're a married man and you're having an affair, you probably shouldn't go out in public where people have cameras.
No, especially if you're famous. Right? That one seems fairly obvious. But anyway. Mark, look, a lot going on here, right? We new all-time highs here this week. I know we talked about trading sideways here, new all-time highs. Then we had the Intel report, and I'd be curious to know if Intel is going to be one of the stocks that you wanted to talk about, because I tell you what, you talk about market memory all the time, and we basically saw that there in Intel as that traded back up to and then through its all-time high back from 2000 or so. So yeah. I'm just curious, what do you have on deck here, and what are you seeing out there?
Well, let's go take a look at Intel. Yeah, I mean, anytime you get to a former high or former low, even if it was a long time ago, it's important. And Intel is a really good example of market memory here. So, unfortunately, I've been around. Unfortunately, I actually been around long enough to remember the internet bubble very well, but.
Unfortunately, he says.
Yeah, well, experience only comes with age. But yeah, I mean, so I don't know, man. We're breaking out here. I would think that what we got to do is, this is one of those things where, as we speak, like right now, there's all these analysts all over Wall Street are studying the numbers and so forth and so on. And they have their meetings, and they're usually done like 9 or 9:30 Eastern time, and they finally decide, well, hey, these numbers are really good, so we're either going to buy more or we're just not going to do anything, or these numbers are good but they're not as good as people initially seem to think. So let's take advantage of this weakness. And so if it starts to, that usually starts mid-morning. So if it starts to trend lower mid-morning around like 10 or 10:30. Eastern time, then I think it's probably going to come back in a little bit more. But I mean, That's just a very short-term picture. In the long term, but yeah, look at this memory. I mean, look at these. This is 2020, 2021, and now we're right back there.
Yep. And it's not just this level, too, as your chart is clearly showing right now. This has market memory at a lot of different levels.
Yeah.
And so I think it's really important to kind of pay attention to those previous levels going forward here. You're talking about a pullback. Maybe this pulls back to a former level, too, and that's your buy spot.
Exactly. Like if we drop back to around 70 or so, that would, because a lot of times things break out, and then you can actually see it down here. Things break out. I'll make this a little easier to read here. Things break out, and what was resistance turns into a support level. So it's very common because people that sell at the resistance regret it when the price goes higher, and they say, if I could buy my shares back at the same price I sold them at, I will. So it drops back. And remember, it's psychology that drives these markets. People get a little bit too caught up in thinking like it's about earnings or so forth. Like this morning for the stock of the day, I was going to write about just the service now and just the psychological levels here, right? This blue line is exactly 100 and this blue line is exactly 85. And if this was based on earnings or EBITDAs or margins and not psychology, well, there would be no such thing as support or resistance levels. Every price level would have the same amount of importance. So I wrote about in stock of the day, I had one of probably the best trade in my career.
Oh, well, congratulations. Here, Mark, we give register rings out for stuff like that. So congratulations.
Oh man, I need like 5 for this one. These don't happen too often.
Say less, buddy.
So I spoke about this on Wednesday here on my stock of the day. Will the Avis rally ever end? So this is like a complete short squeeze. And when short squeezes end, a lot of times they just collapse like this. So the strategy is look for something that's in a short squeeze and wait for it to reverse and then buy puts on it. All right. Or if it's on its ways down, some people would want to sell calls. Me personally, I would rather just buy the puts. But think about the price action here. So we go from, let's just call it $100 in late March. 2 days ago, we got up to $850. And then yesterday we got down to 212. So this thing dropped. Just think about that. 600, over $600 in 2 days. And this is what I call the short squeeze unwind. Now, what happens with a short squeeze is people that want to borrow the shares from someone. And the idea is that the price is going to go lower and they're going to buy the shares back, return them, and keep the difference. So when the price starts to go higher, the shorts start to panic because they start to lose money. It's just a mirror image of if they owned a stock and it was going down. So it goes higher as they panic. Now the climax comes when the people who loan the shares to the short sellers see how high the price has gone and they decide they want to sell. And they call in the shares that they loaned out. The short sellers are forced to go out and buy regardless of the price. And when that all comes to an end, you can see something like this here. So a guy was asking me the other day, well, this company has such bad fundamentals. Why would anyone buy it? Blah, blah, blah. How is it rallying? This has nothing to do with fundamentals. Maybe the bad fundamentals are why there was a high short interest in the first place. That could have something to do with it. But this just shows you the psychology and just how quickly things can turn in the market. The same thing happened to Beyond Meat, if you recall, back in October, where it was a situation where it was a short squeeze. And this is like the typical behavior. We go into the short squeeze, we get up to the former resistance level, and once the squeeze comes apart, comes right back down in. So that was one of the things I wrote about this week, which I'm pretty stoked about. And another one here.
Let me ask you real quick before you move on here real quick. CAR has its next earnings scheduled for May 7th. Now, I know you're out of your trade here, but do you think that anything specific could happen around those earnings given the short squeeze that just took place here?
I mean, it could kick off another one, right? When are they reporting?
May 7th.
May 7th. So that's what, about 2 or 3 weeks out? Yeah, I don't know, but I probably wouldn't really.
Oh no! You know what? I beg your pardon. I beg your pardon. Lion Atlas gave us that date there. That was the estimated date based off previous earnings. They've actually confirmed their earnings for Wednesday, April 29th, before the market opens. So we're actually going to get their earnings in 5 days here. That is definitely earlier than the last year, Lion. I know that's not your fault.
Yeah. So the way I I look for these things is catching them on the way down. It's really kind of hard to catch them on the way up. Now, if come Avis's earnings, if the stock jacks up another 600% in a matter of a couple of days, I would be looking for a reversal there as well. So you see this every now and then. I don't know, maybe once a month, once every other month, where you see something that just goes into these massive short squeezes. And if you can catch them, they're pretty, in my opinion, pretty low risk, high probability, because the strategy here is for me, typically I buy options that are slightly in the money, but these things, I buy them out of the money because we can move so much. So let's just say when this thing started coming apart, when we got through this day's open, like right around there is when I pulled the trigger. And you can imagine when this thing was at $600, what the 350 and 400 puts were trading for. And now those puts are all worth a couple $100, right? So, so it was so this one worked out pretty well, man.
Yeah, and, no question. Look, we talked about this every single day leading up to it. We talked about how difficult this can be. I'm thrilled to hear that you made it bank off of this, and then you're now breaking it down. One of our chatters here, Lion, also used puts to short this here. Mark, one of the things I was looking for here, and I was just straight up wrong about this, just never happened. I was looking, the volume continued to expand as that short squeeze drove the price higher. And my thought was, well, as this volume starts to die off and come in a little, that might be the trigger that the short can be on here, right? That the squeeze itself has exhausted it. That is just not what happened at all. I mean, it happened. Look at that. Look at those volume candles. So what I was looking for never really materialized here. Really what happened is all that buying volume turned into selling volume in an instant, and the thing came back in.
Yeah, and it's important to understand too, it's not just the short sellers who are buying it on the way up. People that know it's in a short squeeze, they jump in as like buyers too, right? So it just adds fuel to the fire. So anyway, yeah, if you see something that goes into, if something goes like this and there's no news on it, it's either a short squeeze or someone is pumping it up in some chat room somewhere. Yeah. And in both cases, the odds are about 90% that it's going to come right back down to earth when all that is over. So that was obviously a good one. Now, I also did this for a chart of the day. I don't typically talk about moving averages too much, but this is one way that people kind of use these things, right? Not to gauge like the strength of a trend. Now, people view the market in terms of 3 trends: short term, intermediate term, long term. If all of those trends are going in the same direction, well, we can assume that the stock has a lot of strength. Let's contrast that with a stock that goes from, say, 10 to 100 in a year, but then drops back to 90 in 2 weeks. That stock is in a long-term uptrend, but it's in a short-term downtrend. So if we use these moving averages to represent short, intermediate, and long-term, if all 3 of them are heading higher, it just shows real strength. And a lot of times when you get to a resistance level, if you see something like this, it's a good indication that the resistance could break, because it just shows those trends. Now, here's the confusing thing, right? It's all in the eye of the beholder. There's no real such thing as a long-term trend or a short-term trend. If you're a day trader, a long-term trend might be, 150 minutes. A swing trader, it's 150 days. Buy and hold investor, it's 150 weeks. But the same principles, this here is a breakout, right? The same principles can be used in any time length. So,
Mark, really quick, and I'm sorry to interrupt here. It looks like you've got the 20, the 50, and the 150 moving average on there.
Yeah.
Okay, so those are the ones that you prefer. You prefer like the 150 to the 200?
Not necessarily.
Okay.
I just picked them randomly just
Okay.
for my just for the article. But yeah, so this kind of relates to that. There's really no such thing as a long-term trend or a short-term trend. It's in the eye of the beholder, right? A day trader, a long-term trend might be 150 minutes or 200 minutes. If you look at the one-day chart, we'll see what happened yesterday here. You can use these same principles in any time horizon. Now, here, what I was looking for was the breakout, right? When you form a resistance level, a lot of the people who buy here are upset they bought, and they say to themselves, I'm going to hold on to my losing position, but if I can ever get out of it at break even, I will. So when we return to that resistance months and months later, remorseful buyers who've held their positions from back here are selling over here. Now, when we got back up to the resistance, a lot of times people say to me, well, how do you anticipate a breakout? Well, it's really hard to, but if you do have these trends all moving in the same direction, then the odds are better than not that you're going to break the resistance there. But yeah, I mean, it all depends on the eye of the beholder. And I mean, what do you use? Simple moving average, weighted moving average, exponential moving average. I think it's more important just to understand the concept of this and then apply it to, each person has to develop their own strategy and model. Like if you're someone who's like a swing trader, thinking about getting in a position for a couple months or a couple weeks, like 150-day moving average or a 200-day moving average might give you a delayed signal. Like if a popular strategy is these moving average crossovers, where basically you buy when the short term crosses over the long term, and you sell when the short term crosses below the long term. So now the advantage of these strategies is you catch these long trends. The disadvantage is when you go into these sideways markets, you get a lot of whipsaws. But if you're someone who's a shorter term trader, instead of maybe using the 20-day and the 50-day, let's think about using, let's just say, the 5-day and the 10-day and just see what that looks like. So let's see. So I was having a really hard time hitting my irons, man. I couldn't, it was terrible, right? So then I'm looking at my 9-iron, which is usually what I start with, and it's bent. The shaft is bent. So, of course, I wasn't hitting well. I got out my old clubs from like 10 years ago, and man, it was like Ben Hogan at the range, man.
And Flush City over here. All right, Mark. It sounds to me you're a bent 9-iron. Sounds to me like you might be hitting the ground. You might be hitting the big ball first.
No, I think it was in my garage. You know what probably happened?
Concrete will do it.
It was probably outside against my garage. My wife probably backed the car into it.
I can't wait for you to tell your wife it's her fault.
We want to be the first time. Let's just put it that way. But if you're trading these shorter term time horizons, now look at this. So here's the 5-day and the 10-day. So you buy here, would sell there, you would buy there, and you would still be in it. So this is what we would call like a trend following system or moving average crossover. And now with the broader market, what I'm kind of seeing here is I think we're probably going to be set up for a little bit of a move lower. I don't think anything dramatic, right? Just after the move we've had, I think we're starting to get a little bit overbought. Now, remember, there's these market rotations. So when money comes out of one place, a lot of times it tends to go in other places. So I would say tech is overbought, which means there's a good chance we see a little bit of profit taking. I would say the financials are rolling over here at this resistance level. So the two biggest sectors in the market look kind of short-term bearish, in my opinion.
Okay.
Well, now let's contrast that to if the money comes out of there, look at where we have our consumer staples. So this looks like it's on the verge of a breakout, right? So if as money starts coming out of there, it goes somewhere else, and a lot of times it comes in right here. So if your tech stocks and your financial things start going lower and you're looking for stuff that's going higher, well, there's a good chance we get the breakout here and you can get some movement on the upside. The other kind of flight to safety sector is utilities. And as you can see, the action in utility sector has been pretty strong too. So it seems to be like there's this rotation from tech and financials is going into staples and utilities. So that's kind of what I'm seeing on the broader.
Okay.
And then, of course, we got to go check a look at oil before. Did you hear this story about how all these spies are disappearing?
Yeah. Well, I heard the story about how the UFO researchers are winding up dead.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, so it's even more interesting than it was before.
I mean, look, I haven't really done a deep dive here. And when I do that, sometimes the tinfoil hat gets broken out. But I mean, I'll tell you what, and like, it's crazy. I saw yesterday there were messages from some of these people that are like, hey, I'm a little bit worried with what's going on. I love life. I'm not suicidal. So just keep that in mind. And then a week later, they're dead. And it's like, and it's not like line here says it's 11. It's like a lot of them. It's like not like one or two people.
And let's not forget, it may not be an unprecedented thing. There was a time, and who knows, maybe it still happens, where the Mossad assassinated or killed all those Iranian scientists. So maybe the Iranian, their version of whatever the CIA is or whatever, maybe they're the ones who are grabbing these guys, because it seems like a pretty strange coincidence. Like the one MIT professor, they said he was just like walking out to his car in the morning and someone just like assassinated him.
Yeah, it's definitely weird. It's definitely weird, but I don't have anything I feel real confident on.
Well, the fact that there's no leads shows that. Well, that we know of. Maybe it's the professional stuff, but anyway, I just think it's a pretty amazing story that is being underreported. So not much going on in oil today over here. All right, so if anyone wants to fire away with some questions, if you got specific things.
Yeah, definitely. Well, I think we should do Amazon. The one request that we got right away, Mark, was car, but we didn't even have to ask you about it. You just did it, so that was pretty perfect. I would take a look here at Amazon. We had a recent news about them, working with Anthropic. They're popping here in the pre-market. Looks like 261 was the high move here. I know. Yeah, you got it right there on the chart. They were at resistance here already. Now we're popping above that. So what does this chart tell you here?
Well, this to me looks like this is an interesting lesson here, because I would say that this stock is not overbought. However, if you look at the RSI, it's above 70. So some people would say, well, what are you talking about? I thought if it's above 70, that means that it's overbought. Well, the RSI just measures from time period A to time period B. It doesn't factor what happened in between. So let's say a stock starts at 10 and goes to 1,000, and then 10 days later crashes back to 10. Obviously, it's going to be oversold. But the RSI would say it's neutral because the ending price was where it started. So if we count back 14 time periods, the RSI is assuming that this thing went like this. It doesn't factor in that we went sideways for a week here. So even though the RSI shows that it's overbought, I don't think it is overbought. Of course, the obvious thing to look at would be the all-time high here, which it looks like we're a little bit above in the pre-market. But yeah, I mean, I think this chart looks good. I think this looks like a valid breakout here. And another lesson to be learned here is our whole gaps refill situation, right? You see these gaps. Well, one of the main reasons in a market why we get resistance is because we have remorseful buyers trying to sell things on the way up. Like people buy, it goes down. When it gets back to their level, they sell to get out of break even.
Mhm.
Well, when you gap through prices, there's little or no trading, which means there are little or no people who bought or who are going to be trying to sell on the way back up. So when the new buyers come into these levels, they have a hard time finding sellers. They have no choice but to be really aggressive and really jack the price up to get the sellers back. So if you gap or move quickly through levels on the way down and eventually return to those same levels in the opposite direction on the way back up, there's a good chance you move really quickly right back through them here. And this is a perfect example of that.
Okay. Awesome. Let's do AMD. I know there's a lot of talk about AMD chips, obviously hot. AMD moved through 300 recently. I've seen price targets that go up as high as 800 several years out. So what does the chart tell you here on AMD?
Now, this one I would say is overbought. So where are we in the pre-market? Oh, yeah. So we're way up to here. Wow. Yeah. Now, something like this, I don't know. Is this earnings or I'm not sure what's driving it, but in the pre-market, we're up to about what's
this is sympathy with Intel. Their earnings are 11 days away, May 5th after the market.
I mean, when I look at something like this, my instinct is play a reversal on it because I just think it's just way overdone. I mean, it's gone vertical, right? Pretty much. It looks like it's in a short squeeze, but it's not. So, but yeah, I mean, I would probably be watching this thing for a reversal. So let's just say it's at 340. You know, if this thing maybe gets down to 335 at some point, like that whole mid-morning thing we talked about, there's a good chance it trends lower. So I don't know if I would jump in and buy this right here because it's just too overbought.
Yeah. Okay. And real quick, just to kind of amend this here, Black Mamba says it's a fundamental re-rating on AMD and Intel. So I think you tell me, Black Mamba, but it sounds like maybe you don't think those things are going to come back in. Zach gives a price here of buy it at 260. This is what I've been saying here on AMD. Mark, sorry. I have a trend line here that really kind of connects some of these highs. This goes all the way back to 2021. And I go through the high in 2021, 2024, and the recent one there in 2025. This gives me a breakout spot. And if we zoom in to where the price interacted with this spot, it sure looks to me like it made up its mind here, right? It traded up to the resistance area, it chopped around for a couple of sessions, and then it started to push away. Yeah. So going off what you just said about the stock being overbought, the first thing that I'd be looking for is a pullback and a back test of this trend line. Now, estimating how long that would take, I have this value at about 278, 279.
Yeah, I mean, I think that would make sense.
Okay.
I mean, I'd be looking at it at a different way of the resistance level, but you know, things can have great long-term prospects, but it doesn't mean that the stock is not going to fluctuate. Like people ask me all the time, should I am I a trader or am I a buy and hold investor? Well, you don't have to be one or the other. You could kind of be both, where let's just say you own AMD or any stock. Say you own AMD at 300 because you think it's going to 3,000 in 5 years. And maybe it does go to 3,000 in 5 years. And that would be nice to buy now and hold it for then, right, when it goes up to that price. But in between now and then, there are going to be times where it gets really overbought, where maybe you trim your position a little. There are going to be times where it gets really oversold, where maybe you add to your position a little. So even though you like something long term, it doesn't mean you want to just kind of generally put it away and just kind of forget about it, because you're going to get times where, you know, like let's just say that you like this company long term, right? Instead of just buying it and just forgetting about it, well, last April would have been a great time to add to your position.
No question.
So, all right. Yeah.
I got one more here if you have time.
Yeah, sure.
All right. Love this handle here. Casa Casa Miami by Sissy. So I think we run some Airbnbs out of Miami. That's what it sounds like to me. Welcome. You're new here, looking for some insights. WST is the ticker she brought up.
Oh, yeah, that's kind of interesting. I was looking at this.
Perfect.
Morning.
This is not one that we look at very often, so let's take a look at this now. This would be excellent.
Yeah, now what I'm looking at here is also, I'm thinking a potential reversal, because see where we're trading this morning? I mean, we're a little bit above it, like right around there. But
315 this morning.
Yeah, so right around here, like around 315, right? The price dropped. Now, when people who bought it here regretted doing so because the next day the thing dropped like a rock. A lot of them say if I can get out of this thing at break even, eventually I will. So support turned into resistance. Now it could be kind of a mirror image thing. Well, not a mirror image, but the same dynamic, but played out in a different way. People who bought it here are going to be selling it here. So we could have a situation where, so we have an overbought stock that's at resistance, and stocks that are overbought at resistance tend to reverse. Now, if you want to play a reversal, the key is to not try to catch the top or the bottom. If you're playing off the bottom, you want to wait for the reversal to actually start. You're going to give up a couple points, but the risk reward ratio, I think, is much better. So where I would start thinking about this is, all right, well, if this RSI line starts to turn lower, that maybe that's an indication that the reversal started, because if it doesn't, this thing is going to keep going up. But anyway, I do have to jump because I got a 9 o'clock meeting I got to get to.
Okay. Sorry for keeping you, Mark. Thanks for everything. As always, if you hit the links, hopefully you hit those things straight. Hopefully it's Flush City on the course this week.
All right. Okay. All right, everyone. Thank you so much. And I'll see you next week.
Take care, Mark. And don't forget, sign up for Mark's Substack. The link there is right there at the bottom. We put the QR code at the top of the screen. We really appreciate Mark's insight. Mark did work on Wall Street, so it's great to get direct insights right from him. Really good stuff. And Lion, how stoked are you that I didn't even have to ask him about Carr? He already traded it. One of the best trades of his career. How stoked are you that that's how it worked out there? So, all right, really good stuff there. And then one more thing regarding that WST. I said we've never really brought that up before. Interesting stuff here. None of you said stay away from that. What is WST? You might have never heard of it before. I think one of the big things here for me, they make they make peptides such as GLP-1. They make auto injectors for injectable drugs like GLP-1s. So given everything that's going on with peptides and some of these injectable things, I am entirely unsurprised to see WST trading like this. But anyway, really good stuff there from Mark. All right, before we get to 13 and we give you some more trading ideas as we break down some of the movers, what we're going to do first here, I just want to kind of an administrative thing. We're going to do street tweets real quick. I'm going to show you the tweet that caused the market to pop earlier today. All right, so here it is. This initially came from Al Hadarth BRK is the account. We translated it from Arabic here. A high-ranking Pakistani government source estimates the occurrence of a serious breakthrough today. That was per Al Hadarth. That is what we have. That's what really kind of drove the market earlier. Now, it is worth noting that the market has retraced about 70% of that pop higher. So we're not out of the woods yet, but this is what was responsible for that. S&P futures still holding higher here by 0.28%. Dow futures slipped back into negative territory. They're down 0.15%. And the NASDAQ still strong on the back of that Intel report, 1.13%. So this is what's affecting the market here today. Let's go ahead and get back to live trading. And also what we're going to do here, we're not live trading yet. We are going to do our pre-market pulse. All right. Good morning, 13. How you doing?
Hey, good morning. How are you doing? How's everybody out there?
Man, I'm
reading. Sorry.
It's okay. You don't have to be sorry for reading. We liked that you're wicked smart, and we'll take that. But great to have you here. hopefully you enjoyed last night, even though your team didn't pick. I know it was fun. And you should have some more stuff to be excited about here tonight. But we've got 25 minutes till the market opens here. Where do you want to start?
Let's knock out these movers.
All right, let's do it. Let's flip over to the movers workspace, which is this all changed on me here. There you are, movers. There you are. All right, and we're going to start here with MXL, unless you want me to start with something else.
Nope, that's good.
All right, MXL here. Max Linear shares are trading higher after the company reported better than expected Q1 financial results and issued Q2 sales data above estimates. You can see we had an impulse move here yesterday. The stock closed at 34.24. Impulse move took us up 10 points. Now we're getting a move higher. This looks like it's possible gap and go, although it's already up 56.5% here. Just a really, really good earnings report. Really quick, 10.24% of the float shorted, 5.56 days to cover. So that's elevated, not comparable to what we saw in CAR, but 5.56 days to cover. That is considered high short interest. We're only at 10.25% of float shorted. We'd like to see more than 20% of that, but keep this in mind here in case this impacts how this thing trades here today. On average, it trades on 1.54 million shares. Prior to the open, we're just over a million. Float on this is 57 million. 13, what do you got, MXL?
Yeah, so this is a company that builds radio frequency and mixed signal integrated circuits for cable and satellite broadband communications, something that we have been talking a lot about. And Max Linear seems to be a pretty good name for such a company that's been pretty much going straight up for the past couple of weeks. You could see that with the daily chart if you want to take a quick look at that.
Sure.
57 million shares in the float, so a little heavier than what we normally trade. But yeah, so there you go. This thing been kind of going straight up lately. The company has cash and has revenue, but it's not yet profitable. I'm a little concerned about the gap fill that we're getting out of this movement here today off their earnings. I'm not convinced completely that we'll see the gap fill to the downside, although I'm not going to say it's not impossible. We could see that. I just think that we'll probably end up coming down into it a little bit and find some support, but we could end up filling it either way. The levels that I'd be watching for, though, are going to be, we're approaching one to the upside here. Between 56 and 57, I'm finding some resistance. I think that could be the area where we run into and struggle. They also have a price target of $60 that was given today by Needham. So that's a possibility as well. But I was looking at the price action history, looking to the left, and I did see 56 to 57 have a pretty decent area of consolidation. And I think this was like from years ago too. Let me see. Yeah, so this area of consolidation back in 2023, 2022 that we're approaching. So that's what I've got here for this one. If we start to come in some more, I think 44 is going to be your support area.
Okay. Lion here says, let it come down. MXL has been ripping, but let it come in. So it looks like we're all in agreement there. Really good stuff on MXL 13. Next, we have ELPW, and this is one from earlier this week. I know it didn't do a whole lot yesterday, but back on Wednesday, this had a pre-market move and a regular session move. Now we're getting a more outsized pre-market move here today. Let me double check to see if there was news on this. I don't think so. Nope. Nothing fresh here on ELPW. We did trade above 4 here. As a reminder, the short interest on this name, 3.21%, pretty negligible given this. 1.4 million shares in the float. On average, it trades 2.4 million shares. Today, it's done 35 plus million. What do you think here, ELPW?
I think we're seeing more momentum from when it started running earlier this week. We did get let me just zoom in here. We did get a recapture of the 20-day SMA, and this thing, this has been reverse split a couple of times, so it's really down here now if you have to zoom in on the daily chart. But this has been trying to recapture the 20-day SMA all month. We finally are closing above it now. $3 was a very big resistance area. We're also trading above that, so I think that's going to end up being a level of support. Maybe not right now intraday. I think VWAP's going to be a better level of support, but it looks like we're losing that. So $3 is going to be a support area if we start trading beneath VWAP. To the upside, I think 450 is going to provide some resistance. We did get up to 425 in the pre-market here, but looking into this consolidation back from March, I did find that 450 was a pretty stiff resistance area. So that's what I'm expecting to see here if we do manage to climb higher. But according to the MACD, this is looking like it's maybe starting to roll over here and get a little weak. So I would also think that as we approach the open, this one may also come back in. It could pop initially and then come back in, but I think we're going to see a little bit of weakness here in the morning with this one.
Okay, I will say so far in the pre-market, take it with a grain of salt because it's the pre-market. We actually on the way up, we formed two bullish fair value gaps. Both of them were hit. Both of them resulted in another move higher here. So these two gaps no longer unmitigated for the session. We'll see if it keeps climbing, if it makes another one. 13, I'm looking at the daily chart here, and I got to think 550 is going to be our next level. I think that's going to be our next big resistance area if it gets there here today.
If it gets to 450, then I would agree with that.
Yeah,
the 450 area where we're at right now, if you have to kind of go into an intraday chart to see all the price action to the left, and then you'll see how the levels we're approaching right now. There you go. See the 450 area there?
450 is going to be right in here. You probably also have some at 5, and then I think 550. I think that's probably what you're looking at.
Yep. So that's what I'd be looking at with there. We were asked about the short interest with this. This has really dropped down in the short interest. The percent of the float shorted. It's I have a read of 3.12% with only 1 day to cover. I think it's negligible.
Okay. All right, really good stuff. West Cap saying, what is the short? Oh, you just gave him the short.
Yep.
Okay, awesome. Ryan Milligan, great to see you again. Obviously, a great name. I love how you've gone from Ryan Milligan to Mr. Ryan Milligan. That is really classy and awesome there. So keep it up. Good to see you again. All right, next here is going to be Cast, and this is actually was on the list of stocks in focus here today. This is FreeCast. They did have some news here. Yesterday, after hours, they signed a deal with DirecTV. For the multimedia family, I believe. Let me get the actual language here off the catalyst itself. FreeCast announces national distribution agreement with DirecTV Multifamily. I was right, to market and sell streaming services in multifamily housing. That caused the stock to pop. If we go back to the chart here, you can see we had a big impulse move. We've retraced about 50% of it, but so far we've kind of held here. So it sure looks like 225, that near-term support. Taking a look at the short interest on this name just to see if that has an impact here. I've got nothing. I don't have a float reading, but I also have less than 100,000 shares held short on this name and just in general. 1 day to cover. I think that's going to be negligible. If you're going to day trade this here today, probably want to be done with this. We'll see if we get any run from the catalyst there, but on average, stock trades 219,000 shares a day, done 8 million here today. So again, I would want to be done with this before the closing bell here today. 13, you got anything here on Cast?
Yeah, the float read I have for this one from my broker is 15.78 million. So a little bit closer to the kind of share structure we're looking for here. The company has little revenue and no cash. So I expect that this company is going to end up doing some kind of offering at some point. I don't think the deal is going to be enough to provide the cash they need for operations. I don't like the way the chart looks. This just looks all kinds of ugly to me. I think that if we can't get back above this 50-day SMA, today, we're probably going to continue to see more weakness in this name. If you look at a daily chart, we lost the 50-day SMA on Wednesday, tried to recapture it yesterday, couldn't do it, and put in all-time lows at the same time. And now here we are coming back up following that deal. We would need to see a close over the 50-day SMA if I'm going to have any kind of hope for this. But at the same time, I don't know if I really want to take too many trades in this with an offering that could be looming. So
yeah, and it sounds based on your reporting there that it sounds likely. Revenue, no cash. Sounds like me in college.
Yeah, I think I saw that.
So good, Jay.
So they filed a prospectus earlier this month to sell up to 5.75 million shares. So it's kind of on the table. I don't really think I like this one that much. It might have some some good price action for trading. Like we looked at some of the other ones, they were rising into the open. This one's actually falling. So we could see some brief moment of upside here, but at the same time, I agree with you about not wanting to be in this by the end of the day.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Good stuff there. Jay, I love that. I'm gonna reuse that. Retro says, Ryan, the Bears got my favorite player in the draft. Yo, when I saw that Thieneman was still sitting there when the Bears were up to pick, I was like, oh, let's go.
It looked like our whole division did really well in the draft.
My buddy's a Vikings fan. He was extremely upset that they went defensive tackle over an offensive lineman, but let's take it with a grain of salt. I feel real good after day one. I'll leave it at that. We'll see how it goes.
Well, at least there's one team that did.
Yeah. I haven't talked to my Lions friends about it yet, but I will do that here today. Okay. Next stock that we have on the list is going to be ticker OGN. This is Organon. And you can see this stock closed at about 8.58 yesterday, traded into an 11 handle here today. It's up 30%. Thursday, all I have here was yesterday morning, they PR'd that they're going to do their earnings conference call on May 7th. Otherwise, I don't have any fresh news on this one. It is moving. It's up 30%. Quick peek at the short interest on this name, 11.33% of the float shorted, 6 days to cover. So that days to cover is high. It does look like the short interest is creeping up on this name. On average, 100-day volume, 5.3 million. It's done 3.6 million here today. Float just shy of 200 million. Do you have anything on OGN 13?
I didn't cover this one, but I'm just looking at the most recent news we had. There's a Bloomberg article that I think might be, giving us a clue as to why it's going. It's not from today. It's from, a couple of weeks ago. But it said that Sun Pharma and Gruenthal are looking to buy this company.
Yeah, so a merger proposal rather than buy it out by Sun Pharma in a $13 billion deal.
Yeah, so
thanks, EKS.
I don't know if there you go. Okay. Perfect. Yeah, because I think that's a little bit more of what we might be seeing here. There could be somebody that knows more than we do, but really nice support that we got from the 200-day SMA. And now we're launching up towards some of the highs from October last year. Looks to me that we're going to be entering a gap if we get beyond that high. That high from October is 1129. And then we enter a gap fill area that takes us up to about, 1293. So there's a little bit of a gap fill there. That's what I'd be looking at if we do manage to get past that October high. I'd be looking for that gap to fill. And then if we end up getting that and it continues to go, there's the 500-day estimate above that. Looking at looking at an intraday chart, because that was all on the daily. I think I would go with those levels as resistance. Support's going to be VWAP. And then if we lose that 65 EMA, if not the 1050 area.
Okay. Good stuff there. OGN. EKS here saying chatter that could be worth $18 a share as well. Okay. Good stuff. Good insight there, EKS. Also, this was a spinoff from Merck. It's got $1 billion in debt.
That's where all the debt went.
There it is. Okay. Next here, we already covered Intel 13. If you want to give thoughts on Intel, we can do that right around or after the open. The other two stocks here, I'm actually going to go to SST first because the chat is having conniptions over this name, but we'll do LiDAR as well. SST is System 1. You can see we have a second impulse move higher here. So we had the initial one here in the pre-market and then a second one. This took us just shy of 5. I actually see a trend line here, 13. I'm going to take out that one pre-market and I'm going to just draw it off this. We'll see how it ends up working out on this, but that's what's going on. Stocks up 19%. Let's take a look. I got no fresh news here. Friday, April 17th. It looks like we had, no, that was some insiders, but that was stuff going with tax. I don't have anything fresh on this one. 39. Oh, wait a sec. Wait a tick in here. Let's take a look at the split calendar. Okay. It has not had a recent reverse split. That's interesting. Looking at the short interest here, it sure looks like it jumped up by like 30% of the float shorted. Looks like it went from 257,000 shares held short to 1.27 million shares held short. Still 1 day to cover on this. It's up 20%. Maybe that induces a run to cover. You tell me. 13, what do you think here on SST?
Yeah, I was trying to just get an idea of what this company is about.
I'm going to step away for a sec. I'll be right back.
Okay. I think I'd probably just lean on that trend line. I don't know enough about this. Let's look at their finances and see how that looks. So they do have revenue. They're not profitable, but that's all right. They do have a good amount of cash. Balance sheet looks okay. So it looks better than some of these other ones we were looking at. That's for sure. I would think that maybe that trend line does come into play here if we can hold above VWAP. But this is one that is running into the open here, and tend to see stocks like that either start to sell immediately or get a quick impulse move up and then sell. So we'll see if this can continue. But I do like that VWAP because that VWAP does line up pretty nicely with the highs from yesterday, just before we went into the close. So I think that's kind of where I'd be leaning on for support. And we are coming back down here. So let's see if that ends up holding up. And that's going to take us to about 435. If we use the wick before we had the close, and if you have the after hours close, that's going to take us up to, what is this, 446. So yeah, I guess I would just lean on that. 435 to 445. Probably going to see some support coming here. We're approaching that right now, so we'll see if we end up getting that. Beneath that level, it looks like we could also get some support from about 410, and then you have the 65 EMA down at 388. So that's what I would do. Did I sell all my Intel or keep some? Yes, I had a plan for Intel. I've been out of that for a long time ago, and the ones that I'm in now are AMD and Broadcom. Perfectly happy with those. Intel I think this is gonna come back in though, initially.
Okay.
And then yeah, so with SST, I was just talking about how we are approaching some support levels. We're actually getting pretty close to one right now. 445, 435. That's kind of where we have the VWAP and the highs from the regular session yesterday. So
okay, next is LiDAR.
Okay.
LIDR, this is AI, is the name of the company. That's AEYE, by the way. Ticker is LIDR. Stock is spiking. Looks like 230 with some resistance. The stock was down over 6% yesterday, up 31% here today. Yesterday, we had that they announced a new VP of Operations, Quality, and Inducement grant under a NASDAQ rule. I would imagine that's playing into what's going on here today. If we take a look at the short interest, it's there, but it's negligible. 4.68% 1 day to cover. On average, trades 2.63 million. It's done 5.7 here today. Floats 44 million. 13. I know we've traded LiDAR before. It's absolutely ripping right now. Any thoughts on this one?
Yeah, I just need a second.
Uh-oh.
Because I'm just trying to get some my drawings in order here with this one. We are coming up to what I think. Hold on a second. I'm sorry. Just give me a second because there's a lot to look at with this. We might be coming up to some resistance. We're kind of in it right now, but I think the really tough spot's a little bit ahead of us at around 285. You see this consolidation that we have here from August last year. We're approaching that area, and I think the bottom of that consolidation is going to be right about where we are right now.
Yep.
So I think that we could start to see some resistance here in LiDAR, but the real thick part doesn't show up until a little bit higher up, like beyond 260. I think it's like around 270 to 280. But if we do get up there, we're going to get a breakout of a downtrend, I think. So I kind of think that we are going to see some resistance up around 3. I have 325 marked off on my Benzinga chart here. So I certainly think that that's possible. If we manage to get through that, the next level I have beyond that is going to be 4 and 430.
Both of those clear as day from the daily chart. Okay, good stuff there, 13. Ed here saying we've played LiDAR before, pump and dump. It's a trap. It's a trap. So be careful on that
history. You got the perfect chart for that. Look at that. It goes up and then it comes right back down.
Bingo. Bingo. Okay. So that's what's going on with LiDAR. We are approaching that trend line. We'll see if it's got that resistance up there. I tend to agree with 13's resistance spots, but I also think this 240 might come into play here. All right. PBM getting mentioned here in the chat. This is Sciescence Bioscience. This is trading higher. That we've had news earlier about the reclassification and all of that. Yesterday in the morning, Science Biosciences announces first patient dosed in phase lib clinical trial evaluating MPX5 for the treatment of adjustment disorder in parents with cancer in palliative care. So we got this again yesterday morning, but we are seeing more of a pop here by about 8.6%. We take a look at the short interest on this. 5% of the float shorted, 3.37 days to cover, so some but not huge. Float right in our wheelhouse, 1.02 million shares. On average, this stock trades 2.63 million. It's not hugely active here today, although if you look at the chart, there was obviously some volume flowing in here recently, and that's popping the stock. Part of me wonders what this is. Maybe this is, Mark told us earlier about a room or a newsletter or something like that. Maybe that's what's driving this higher here. PBM, it is above yesterday's pre-market highs. It's basically right back into the area that it consolidated in on Tuesday. This is the pop that we had on Monday. Stock basically round tripped it. So it traded up. It came all the way back in. Now it looks like it's popping a little bit. 13, do you have anything on PBM?
Well, this is in the psychedelics. So we did have that news about from.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, I'm sorry.
I think that could be one thing. When I was kind of scratching my head at phase lib, but I think that's phase 2B, and it's just a typo.
Yeah, me too.
So
I as soon as I read it, I was like, "You dummy! That's phase 2B."
So I think that's what we got here, and initial dosing, that's great. We want results. It's nice that we're they're starting the testing. Good news, but I think this is the kind of news that you just end up selling. So I think there's going to be we're going to need to see more data because there's still going to be some more clinical trials. Depending on how this one goes, there's going to likely be a phase 3. That's going to be very expensive. So with this move here, this is probably some move I'd be selling into. But it's that White House announcement that makes me think this could have a little bit more staying power. But either way, I still think this is probably something you'd want to take some gains in. Let's look at the balance sheet here and see what we got. Well, doesn't have any revenue and it loses money. Don't really have a great read on their cash, but it looks like it's 7 million, a little more than 7 million. So it seems like it has enough cash for now. I don't know if they're going to need to raise any capital, but I still think that this is the kind of news that you end up selling into.
Okay. All right. Good stuff there. Mr. Ryan Milligan asking, you guys still in AMPX? I'm not. 13, were you still in that one? Your battery play, AMPX, your favorite battery play?
I just have a market position now. But no, I don't. I really don't have a big position in it. That thing's been absolutely on fire, and I've taken almost all my gains off the table.
Okay, so when you say, let's just clarify for the audience here. So when you say a marker position, you have just kind of a small nominal amount of shares so that you follow it.
Yep.
So I often do this too. 13, I don't know what kind of size you use for that, but like on some of these smaller stocks, like I'll buy 100 shares and I'll just kind of hang on to it, or I'll buy maybe 500 or 1,000 shares and then sell 900 of those and maybe keep 100. It sounds like that's what you did here on AMPX. I really like that strategy.
And what I'm wanting to have that out there for us, because I'm trying to keep an eye on what the price action does. I do want to see this come back in a little bit more. I think there could be another trade if it goes under 20. So just something I'm watching for here. But no, this has been fantastic, and I'm mostly all out of this, and I'm just kind of trading it back and forth as we come back in and push higher. I think that there still could be a move up towards 30, but I don't know how long it's going to take, and we're kind of getting a little. I don't want to say we're getting extended here because I don't think that's necessarily the case. We could extend much higher, but it's just pretty elevated here, and I think this is just it was a good spot to take gains off the table, but just waiting for it to come back in, see if there's any opportunity there. But no, okay. I don't have a whole lot more of this anymore.
Linda, I know we're running out of time. You said, can we take a look at IREN? Yeah, IREN's actually in an interesting position. We had a trend line here. I don't know why it got deleted, but I re-added it. This trend line here originates at the November 6th high. It goes through the high in January and through the recent high. Yesterday, we broke through this trend line on volume. So this actually looks pretty good in terms of like its momentum. I'm thinking 63, 64 is probably your next spot. 13, you got any spots on this?
Yeah, we have breakthrough 50, pretty big. I'm looking at 60 as potentially the next big resistance area, though we could run into some resistance around, I would say, 57 to 58. And we are open. And
we are open, folks.
MXL trying to push higher. Thought we might see a little bit of this. I'm just thinking that this is the move you want to sell into. It's probably going to go to, so here we are in the range I mentioned, 56 to 57. This is where I thought the resistance could be, but it can push to 60 based on that price target. Here we go. Here we go. A little through 57 now, pushing up to 60.
Also, Qualcomm here. I know we didn't really talk about this. Qualcomm here ripping. In sympathy, in sympathy with Intel. Remember, they report in 5 days, so Wednesday after the market closes. Look at QCOM here today.
All right, so while MXL does that, looks like it's starting to find that resistance and come back in a little bit. LPW, that's testing VWAP, trying to get support from that. Cast, not doing a whole lot, but looking a little heavy at the moment. OGN, Organon and Company, that dropped just before we opened, and now we're trying to hold VWAP. SST, slightly higher. What?
Buys coming in. S&P futures just moved to the downside through the VWAP right on that opening print. I got LiDAR here. LiDAR looks like it's running up to the 240 area. I am seeing some Intel calls getting bought on the back of that awesome report. Part of me wonders if these are out of the money or in the money. 85 calls, so that's a trade at the money. There was a 75 call in there. That might have been an earnings play.
All right, so we had some selling out of the. We didn't look at this one, but I'm always looking at Velo. We had some selling out of the gate with that one. That went down to 1609 and is bouncing, trying to recapture some of these levels. It was up to 1750 in the pre-market. MXL, this did hit 5864. It came back in a little bit, but still above its VWAP, trying to push up for 60. ELPW, we are seeing some more selling with this. No support from VWAP, which was given a little bit of support there in the pre-market before we opened. 65 EMA could be next if it doesn't get some support from that 330, 340 area.
Ryan here saying, my best trades have been fading the tops recently. I'm winning bigly, or new highs is I guess, another definition of tops there. Ryan, let me ask you, first of all, congratulations. That's excellent to hear. What next is on your watch list? What are you looking at next for another trade?
Cast lower now. Looks like it's finding a little support around 210, 215, somewhere in there. ELPW lower. MXL, not really. Okay, so we did hit 59.71, almost to 60, but we did come back in. So, and this thing's getting pretty spready here too. I'm looking at anywhere between a $50 to $1 spread in this at times.
AMD looks okay here. Interestingly enough, Netflix is sinking, Apple is sinking, Palantir is sinking. Amazon is pulling back from the open, but that's not the same. Amazon's still up 1.35%. It popped earlier here up to 161 in the pre-market, so it looks like it's giving some of that back. Izzy, you think 258 is a buy spot for a day trade? Let me know. Apple, Chris saying Apple's getting hammered. Let's see if 270 holds on Apple. And then Bitcoin, by the way, I haven't talked about that. 78,600. Just kind of holding steady right there.
One of the ones from yesterday, Audia, that's halted to the downside.
That's AUUD, right?
Yeah, that thing been getting hammered in the pre-market this morning, and now it's getting hammered again.
That gave everything back yesterday and then more today. Big
reason why these are day trades. You know, we get the good moves in the morning when there's a lot of volume, and then we just get a lot of nothing usually in the day, especially when you have these low volume days where a lot of these aren't being paying attention to. You're going to see a lot of leaking here.
Mark says he got 1K off MXL. That's oops, the wrong one.
Nice.
We'll give you the register ring for that, Mark. Definitely not a trap.
And now it's starting to lose VWAP here. So it didn't quite get the 60 print, came very close, blew through some of those resistance areas I was looking for. But hey, this is what we talked about. Now it's starting to really get weak here. But let's see if it can get some support down in the low.
Hey, look at QCOM, another Lion, really good mention here. I'm sorry we didn't spend more time on this in the pre-market, but this is ramping here. This actually pulled back off the sympathy move. Now it's right back on to the highs up there. Watch 252 here on Qualcomm. No position for me on this. Did not buy that pullback, unfortunately. Mark says he's out 59. Great trade there, Mark.
LiDAR is blasting off. It just blew through the trend line.
SCNI, penny stock going for dollar territory on a move through the VWAP. Here's LiDAR.
Yep.
Tesla doing what it did yesterday, dipping to 371 and ripping.
All right. Remember what we said about LiDAR? This thing does a lot of going up a lot, sometimes over, more than one day, and then it really comes back in. So just be sure you're protecting yourself in case this thing decides to roll over. SST popped up out of the gate up to 497. It is giving almost everything back. Looking at the 65 EMA as support now on the 5-minute chart. MXL trading underneath its VWAP now.
Joe says 150. What did I say, Joe? I thought I said 152. Good catch, though.
Mark, are you talking about MXL? You were out at 59? Fantastic.
Yes.
Fantastic. That's a great move.
S&P S&P continuing to come in a little bit here. Remember, we had broke right off the opening print. The futures had broke the VWAP to the downside. That's still pushing lower here. It's trying to hold 610, but we're in a 609 handle.
QS from yesterday, which we pretty much did everything that we thought it would. Gave back everything and then found support down just underneath 730. This is coming back up this morning. We opened, dropped down to that 730 area again, and now we're trying to push 8. I think you're going to see some resistance at 8. I don't want to say that it's going to turn around at 8. It could, but it could also blow through 8 and find some resistance up at 833, where there was some consolidation in the regular session yesterday. So just wanted to point that out there. QS trying to recover some of what it lost yesterday, but there are resistance areas toward the upside at 8 and 830.
Okay, good stuff there on QS. We'll see if this keeps pushing. See if we get to 8 there.
It's got the dip in ELPW. Now I'm supposed to be very brief because we were, the price is right back to those lows of the regular session. You are a nimble trader, sir.
QS to 8, by the way, and through.
Okay.
ELPW, we'll see if this finds some support. 326 looks to be the next spot that it might find that support at. I would say if you're playing that QS spot or that QS trade, that 13, really just a great alert there. I'd move stops up here. Make sure that you don't go red on that trade if it pulls back. Yep. You could probably keep marching those stops up if you want to maximize your gain on that trade.
Yep. And it looks like I can see a seller in the way there at 820 with a little bit more ramping up towards 830. 820 is certainly a spot. That's kind of the lows from that consolidation, but I'm looking at more of the real bodies, which are much closer to 830, 835. So we'll see if we end up getting there. That's a big seller that's in the way at 820. We might not get past him unless we get some significantly more volume.
Okay, we'll see. Scalp one done on QS there. I was stopped out at 805 on the pullback. Really great alert there, 13.
No problem. Fantastic.
Really great alert there, 13.
Now, LiDAR is still going through this trend line here, but we are approaching some of the top ends of the consolidation back from August last year. So still looking for potential resistance, and we just encountered a seller up at 290, so that might be a spot.
I'm sorry. Lots of call buying on Tesla, Intel, and Amazon. It is all over the place on all of those. 500 calls. It looks. Oh, excuse me. 380 calls on Tesla. 385 calls on Tesla. 500 calls on Tesla. My eyes are not betraying me. Intel looks like 80 calls. So lots of trade on some of those tech names that are popping here today.
MXL recapturing its VWAP. It's going to try for, looks like $60 again.
QS going to your 820 spot. MXL back on. We'll see if that gets 60.
ELPW just got a massive wild hair, and now it's ripping through all the highs. This thing is just blasting.
Oh my goodness. ELPW, not in that one.
Okay, so WIS.
Wild hair. What's that?
Oh, just something that I used to hear from adults and parents back when I was younger about whenever you would cop an attitude talking about getting a wild hair up your ass or some shit.
Okay, no, look, you learn something every day.
Yeah, so
you learn something every day.
I'm digging into my bag, so
I like it. Keep digging into the bag. By the way, QS, great call there. This is through 820 now. QS ripping out of the open here.
Wow. 830
higher now. QS, really good stuff on that.
This is the spot where I think we start to see that, and here we are, finally getting a little bit of red here. Not completely breaking down though. Trying to push higher.
Crispy Biscuit says when you turn 50, watch your eyebrows for a wild hair.
Oh, my eyebrows, if I don't, get them trimmed, they turn into freaking caterpillars.
I was going to say, man, I already have that problem, Crispy Biscuit. I don't know if this is something you're not supposed to talk about, but I get like these rogue hairs that grow faster than all the other ones. And I'm like, it makes me look angry, and I'm like, not angry. So that's a rather amusing comment there. QS still going here, 837 now.
Still pushing through that. Let's see. Next areas of resistance. I mean, maybe 850. I don't think I'd lean on that so much as I would like the higher eights here, where there's some consolidation from the pre-market.
I've got VWAP all the way down here at 782. We'll see if we get back there on that.
Yeah.
Car Lion here saying, Ryan, let's print more. Cars going lower. The space on car that I'd be looking at for here is going to be yesterday's intraday lows. I've got that right around 208. We're still at 223, so something to watch there on car if it breaks that area.
The LPW now turning around, not able to hold above 435. Coming right back down towards VWAP. Cast, this hasn't really done a whole lot. We did have a down move out of the gate. It's kind of going back and forth between VWAP, but just remember what we said about this one. No cash, no rev. This thing could raise pretty soon. Just be careful with this one if you're going to trade it. And it's really not giving a whole lot of great volume for trades. I mean, maybe that first one out of the gate there, down and then up. But this is very slow moving. So there's some other, I think there's better names you can trade.
Okay, checking in real quick, that NN swing trade that was initiated 2 days ago. Yesterday, really encouraging day. This continued to trade up, pulled back. That's totally normal. Now it looks like we're trying to go higher. Remember, my price target here on NN 20 to 21, I'd love to get. If it shows more strength than that, maybe we'll hold out for 22, 23, but 20 to 21 is the target here. We're at 18. This thing is moving nicely. It's up 4 points from its low on Wednesday. And 2.5 points from my entry, or 1.5 points from my entry. Sorry, a little bit more.
If QS holds above 8, there could be some higher prints coming. Right now, we're kind of just we've come off the 843 high, and this candle and maybe even the next one could see a little bit of downside. But as long as we hold above 8 and the VWAP, I think that there could be another move or another attempt to move higher coming.
Okay, that's good to know. We'll see where this thing settles. By the way, seeing NBIS, seeing calls getting bought here, the 165s, that's notable because they're buying it into the pullback here. I'd watch 156 if it can hold that level for today.
I think car is going sub 100 eventually. It should. AVAX dropping like it's hot. Let's see what that's doing today. Okay, down 7%. Entered a gap, so we could get a gap fill. That would take us down to underneath 2750.
Agnostic or Gnostic says Lulu having fun.
Oh.
So I'd like to get the opinion from the group here on this. Here's what Lulu's chart looks like. It really got smacked yesterday. We did the good job drawing that parallel channel yesterday. That's what the shaded blue area is here on the chart. Now it's popping here today. Remember, news on Lulu is that they hired a Nike executive. That Nike executive presided over Nike during a really unfortunate time. I don't really know how I feel about this, to be quite honest with you. I don't love it.
Do you have? Okay, yeah, you have it. I was going to say, if you have that parallel channel, I think that's all you need.
So here it is. We'll go to the daily chart. We'll back out here. I'm guessing you think that this goes to the bottom end of the channel then?
Oh, sure.
Okay, bottom end of the channel here, $83.
Yeah.
By the time it gets down there.
I mean, I don't know that we're going to necessarily bottom ticket, but it looks to me like 100 is going to be in play.
Okay. Okay. Not the greatest look there for Lulu, to be quite honest with you. It is popping here today, though. Credit where credit is due.
I mean, I think it should. It's down at 6-year lows, and we're at COVID lows now. Okay, so with these movers, looks like I'll just go through them. MXL still trying to push up to that 60 area, running into some resistance in the 58 handle. ELPW still holding above VWAP and some of the smaller EMAs. This might try to make another attempt for the 430s again. Cast, we had this drop down to as low as 406. We're still trading slightly above the VWAP, but as I said earlier, this thing is really lacking in the volume. And what's QS doing? QS is starting to come back in a little bit more, but we pointed out that if it holds 8 or the VWAP, we might see another move up back towards the highs of this regular session. $83 is great support on Lulu. Let's make it happen.
QS coming back down to that VWAP, that 8 battle you just talked about on 798 is where I've got VWAP on QS.
We'll see if we get a bull flag here.
Let's see how Qualcomm is doing. Qualcomm actually back beneath its VWAP. This is on the Intel sympathy. How's Intel doing? And is anyone trading any of the semiconductor ETFs?
Yeah, those are on the scanners this morning as well.
Yeah.
Hold on your trade, Anaconda. Out at EPL at a W at 430.
Okay, that sounds like... God, I keep pressing the wrong one. I'm sorry. Keep pressing the wrong one. Yakub, good morning. Great to see you. Is anyone trading the semiconductors, SOXL or SOXS?
Oh, I'm not.
I'm just wondering. Poll results are in. Actually, this was a pretty tight poll. Intel is surging on earnings. What's the move? 40% of you said take profit or exit. 22% of you said buy the dip in software. 21% of you said buy or hold. And 17% of you said short the rally.
Yeah, I mean, last time Intel was even up at these prices, we had, if you go to a monthly, you can see that, we just went past the dot-com bubble highs from Intel. And once we got up here at this price, that during that time, we had like 1 or 2 days up here, and then we immediately started selling off. So be careful. History, in the markets doesn't necessarily repeat, but it does rhyme, and quite often. All right.
Indeed.
So QS, in this current candle here, we are losing the $8 and VWAP level, but let's see what the rest of this candle gives us, if it can turn around and get back above those levels before it's over, or if we're just going to completely give everything back.
MX, this is Magnachip Semiconductor. This is another really inexpensive one. This has earnings in 4 days. 3D, what do you think for earnings here? You think they put up a good number? Just any chips?
Seems like it's more about, it's not so much about the performance of chips these days as much as it is the ability to make them.
That's what I'm saying here. I'm just wondering if some of these smaller names might benefit from that. This is a good mention here on a stock that we don't often look at. Didn't someone ask you what your favorite smaller chip names are earlier this week? I feel like that's a question we got. So a good mention, 3D.
All right, so looks like with QS, we have a little more than a minute left before we're going to see if this is going to hold up or not. It looks like because we're now beneath 8 in the VWAP, it's not looking great.
SPY is trying to bounce. It's actually put in a slightly higher low, and it's battling with its 9 EMA at the moment. So we'll see if SPY has that strength to go higher.
Really seems like the volume's starting to drop off in some of these mover names. MXL seems to be getting less and less, and now we might actually have a red candle here. Still above VWAP, though. ELPD, this one coming down to its VWAP, trying to hold above it at the moment.
ELPW?
I'm sorry, ELPW. Yeah, sorry, I don't know what I was saying there. LiDAR lost its VWAP. That's trying to hold above the pre-market highs. SST is trying to push higher, trying to go back up to 5. But man, a lot of volume really kind of coming out of these names now.
Tell you what, SOXS is working here. So it looks like the short semi, that trade's paying here. Here's SOXS's chart. At least I think so. Yep, here we go.
That means SQQQ should be doing pretty good. Not quite. still down. All right, so QS giving everything back.
Okay. SPY is trading up to its VWAP and its 9 EMA. If it's going to bounce and move higher here, now would be the time, I would say.
And LiDAR trying to push and get back above VWAP, but the volume's super low. It doesn't look like it's going to be able to do that.
SPY so far getting rejected here. Watch this for a minute. See if this firms up at all. Like I said, series of slightly higher lows in a VWAP battle.
Yeah, Zach, like helium, for example. Yeah, okay. Just kind of looking for something.
Yeah, me too. Me too. I was thinking maybe on the SPY here, but it looks like this is trading down. Yep. See if it holds here.
AMD
Microsoft. Sorry.
No, I'm just reading. AMD still going up. Man, this thing is just on fire. Just on fire. We need to fill that gap, though. I think we will.
And then Joe also mentioning Microsoft here, MSFT through the key 420 level.
Lots of names getting hammered down here.
Yeah, actually, it looks like so SPY also, well, not SPY, S&P futures on that attempted pop there. I told you the SPY was flirting with the VWAP. The futures were also flirting with the VWAP. Now, it won't quite break down yet, so we'll see if we still get a pop here.
DYM pumping, says Mr. Johnny.
DYM?
D, like dime, but with a Y and no E. DYM.
Yeah, I think that's
what?
I don't what company is that? I have this as a symbol, like a crypto ticker.
I'm just saying that's what he says. It's DYM is pumping. I don't know what DYM is. I've never heard of it. Yeah, I don't know what DYM is.
MXL, this is trying to hold its VWAP here. SOXS going higher. SPY unable to get through the VWAP. Same with the S&P futures.
QS trying to turn around. OGN looks like this is about to lose some of the lows from the regular session. MXL lost its VWAP. ELPD also lost its VWAP. And also CAS lost its VWAP.
AMD up 68% in April. That's its best month since January of 2021.
LiDAR. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to say, as we mentioned earlier, Intel took out the .com bubble highs.
LiDAR trying to push, well, it's moved back up through VWAP, trying to push the session highs of 305. Looks like some names are also trying to turn around here.
That LiDAR was a nice little VWAP bounce there.
All drone names getting spanked. Guess.
Yeah, they are.
Cast this week. Yeah, I mean, that's a lot of sideways price action here. The volume's not really looking great. I'm starting to think that I just need to sit on my hands and wait for an opportunity here because I don't see a lot.
If you don't see anything great, no sense in trying to force it.
Yeah.
No sense in trying to force it. I tell you what, SPY is not ready to bounce yet. That is for sure. Now that I've said that, it'll probably bounce and rip in my face. Watch for possible sell-off later in the afternoon if no good news comes up regarding the peace deal. We already got one of those tweets earlier today. We probably would like to see another one that's true. Yeah,
and we're still in this same consolidation channel between the two most recent all-time highs, 702.78 and 712.39. That's the range we're in right now. And I don't know exactly what's going to take us out of it.
ENVB was open for 24 seconds before rehalting to the upside.
Good Lord. So. There you go,
Marvell is
G-Man.
tanking.
Kathy, it's all the space names. Everything is coming in. Looks like QS coming down to the session lows, giving everything back. Cast actually trying to recover here. Got a lot of consolidation to get through between 225 and 240. LiDAR trying to push higher. And there's not a whole lot else happening, it seems.
Marvell coming in, market coming in. We'll see if this maybe firms up at all and gives us an entry spot on any of these things. QCOM came back in.
Rigetti continues to be, or I'm sorry, RGTZ continues to do pretty good. I have a level here for ENVB up at 550 that got marked off as a former support resistance area. That might be one spot. Let's see what happens out of the halt. And yeah, there's a lot of profit taking. Rocket Lab is down a lot. Let's see, where do we go? Back down to the 60s. Oh, not even close. Not even close. We're fine. This looks like you might get, if it continues to come in some more support, looks like it's going to be around 78, maybe 80.
Yeah, the only thing really moving here that looks all right is SOXS, and I did not take that there. Shout out to James from our team. It sounds like he's on that here today.
This was also getting talked about last night in happy hour.
Yeah, we do. We do that a lot.
Beyond Meat is tanking. Color me shocked. Man, it just, some of these look like they're about to go, but they're moving so slowly. MXL is trying to come back up over 58. Sorry about that SST loss there, Jane, but you know what? That's great. This is the discipline there. Any opinion on INVE? Let's see here. What does this do? This isn't kind of interesting. I like the way this chart looks.
Identiv, wasn't this part of our authentication theme?
I don't remember.
I don't either. Let me see.
RDFI identification. So is this kind of the device where people are putting RDFIs, or I'm sorry, RFIDs in their like their hand? Is that what this is? Like authentication tags?
Radio frequency identification
Right.
and Internet of Things solutions to address
Right.
customers' challenges. Yeah, I think that is it. I think that's exactly right.
I don't know if everybody's ready to have those kind of devices in them yet. Now, if this is for products, that's great. That would actually make a lot more sense. I think that's what it might. It's more what it's more about. Let's look at the chart one more time here, because it looked like this was kind of had an inverse head and shoulders going on the daily. I bet I could see it better on the weekly. Okay, so if I go to a weekly, I'm looking at this price action here from 2024, like the summer of 2024 until now. This kind of looks like we've been bottoming here. And it almost looks like that could be an inverse head and shoulders, although it kind of looks a little wonky. It's looking. This looks like this is trying to reverse and recapture some levels. I would think 225. I'm sorry, 425 and 450 are going to be the big tests. We get through those. If we get through those, we might be taking off here. That's what I'd be watching for with INVE, getting through that 425 and 450. All right.
Lint here. This is Directions INTC 2X Bull ETF. That, no wonder. I was like, what is this thing up 45%? Now it makes sense. Now it makes sense.
When the SPY goes up, do stocks tend to go up as well? There's a a little correlation with that. You will see some of these like smaller names. If the broader market is rising, they tend to trade a little bit better to the upside. When the broader market is going down, they tend to behave a little bit more weaker. So yes, there's a correlation there, but it's not a guaranteed thing. Sometimes these individual names will be moving on their own news, their own earnings or whatever. But things that don't really have a lot of catalysts, generally, yeah, when the market's broader market's moving in one direction, so too will those other names.
Yeah, it's a sentiment thing, right? If the market looks strong and going up, that's a rising tide lifts all boats type deal.
Yeah. NEM up over 5%. That's the one I'm in for.
That's Newmont, right? Yep.
Yeah, like that one. This one's been having a pretty good 2025 and a not too bad 2026. Although we are still not up at the highs from earlier this year. They're holding the 20-week SMA. What does the monthly chart look like? We are pretty far away from any of those moving averages. Could be a mean reversion with NEM at some point, but with how all the rare earth talk and geopolitical tensions are going, I don't know if that would be completely be the case.
SPY looks like it might be trying for 710 again. It is actually still beneath the VWAP and the 9 EMA, and the ES, the S&P futures, also still beneath the VWAP. We'll see if that changes here. Scaramucci, any chance Ondas gets its Momo back? Yes, I would say definitely. I think we're very, very early in the whole drone theme, but drones just kind of as a whole taking a break today, it looks like.
Yep. Let's see here. I'll put one piece of information out here real quick. So next week, on Tuesday and Wednesday, we have that FOMC meeting. I think that's aside from any developments out of Strait of Hormuz and U.S.-Iran, I think that's the next big thing to watch for.
Producer, do you know if we have the earnings graphic for next week made yet? And if we do, can we get that in Restream so we can share that with the group?
Retro mentioning Procter & Gamble earnings trading the stock well.
Yeah, that was this morning. That traded up here this morning.
And I think you're also kind of getting a little bit of a sector lift too, because Staples, I think we're one of the more. It's either Staples or discretionary.
It's Staples. It's XL. But Putrino went over this before you got on. He actually said that it looks like that sector might be trading up. It was right at a possible breakout spot, and now we're seeing. I don't know what's going on with. PG is the ticker, right?
Yes, Procter & Gamble. This is one I owned a while back. Don't have it right now.
I'm going to refresh my platform. It is hanging here.
But if this continues to come back in, I think it'll be very attractive. I'm just going to, I want to see a larger yield from this. That's when I owned it. It was paying much better, but now up here, I think I'd wait for this to come back in. Let me look at a monthly chart because I'm wondering what this looks like here. Yeah, I think we need to get back above that 50-month SMA. This looks like it could continue to make some lower prints. And you can look at a monthly chart and you make your own decision, but I think this kind of looks a little bit like this is going to make a move towards probably 125. I don't know. We just need to get back above some of these moving averages because it was riding the price was riding these MAs up, especially the 50-month SMA, and now we're trying to recapture it. So that's not a good sign to me.
All right, so that bounce back to the VWAP on SPY, rejected again. We are still showing weakness here on the broader market.
There's an accumulation on ADMA. It says fake beat AI. Let me look at that. ADMA. Okay, so this one had very clear head and shoulders, and we are resolving this.
On which one? What ticker?
ADMA.
ADMA.
This is the one that we were just asked about here. So I would say, do some measuring real quick here. Wow, that's not going to be good. I don't know if this is done selling off, but if there's more downside to go, I think this thing could come down to like 4. It's great that it's recaptured we're currently trading above the 50-month SMA, but I think the real big test is whether or not it can get back above 12. Right now, that's what I'd be looking for, is a recapture of 12 and hold above that. Because if it can't do that, then I think we're going to end up seeing 4. And this could be like a 2 to 3 months out. But that's what I'd be looking at with this one. I don't know that this is turning around. And I don't know enough about this, but just looking at the chart, it looks like this could still resolve lower. If you look at a daily chart, Ryan, I think you probably see what I'm looking at here.
Gotcha. Yeah.
You might have to back out a lot more. Oh, I'm sorry. You know what? I take that back. Do a monthly chart. I'm sorry. I was looking at the wrong time frame.
You're fine.
But you can see it there in the daily.
I was going to say I actually just saw Head and Shoulders there on that day on that daily, and it actually looks like this is resolving here. So
yeah, and it looks like it could still resolve a little bit lower.
Yep.
So. All right, and then there was another question about USAR. What's that up to today? That's kind of down. Let's see what we got here. Oh, okay, this is great actually. So this is one of the things we were looking for. We talked about how this had a trend line. It broke through that trend line, came up to this consolidation area from back in October of last year. And one of the things we talked about wanting to see next is a back test of the trend line. And there we have it.
And there it is.
So now what we need to see happen next is we need to see support start to kick in. And maybe it doesn't kick in right at 22, maybe slightly underneath that in the 21 handle. But we're going to want to see support start to make an appearance here. And we get that support. Over the next, today's the last day of the week, so we probably won't see that until next week. But maybe Tuesday we'll start to see or Wednesday we'll start to see the move come back up. That's what we would want to see with this price action, is a reversal off the trend line and a move back up to retest the highs that we had earlier this week.
I'll give you something to watch for next week, though.
Yeah. Yep. QS is dead. It absolutely is.
Yeah. Look at this. Look at this.
It's just the float's just too heavy,
And you got that nice little move. I mean, you got that nice little move out of the gate. We called some of those areas too. I think we said 820, 830. It stopped at 840.
Yep. So that's all for QS for now. And let's look at some of these other ones. Okay, here, perfect. MXL did hit 60. We had this pop that went to 60, and now look at this thing. Now this is probably going to end up selling off. We just lost the VWAP again. MACD's not looking great. This is probably where it starts to sell off. This is probably where it does.
Literally tapped that 60 and came back in. You were right.
Yeah, so they wanted that price target. I don't know what the rest of the day is going to hold for MXL, but it's probably going to end up leaking some more. ELPW still having a hard time getting back above its VWAP. Great job on your trade list. You tell me if do you think there's more in this? I'm not sure that there is. Cast has just done nothing.
I was going to say, it actually kind of looks like this ELPW wants to retest 350.
Yeah, it does. Yep. I mean, Cast is this thing is doing nothing. OGN lower, trying to get some support from the 65 EMA. Not sure if we're going to get that.
OGN.
LiDAR is coming back in as well. Looks like we're getting a lot of weakness here, and many of the names that have been running this week.
And SPY back on to that VWAP 9 EMA test. It'll be interesting to see if we can get through this. We haven't been able to yet. If we do, that would be a change in character.
Thanks for the info, JD. It's not surprising. I think we kind of all had a feeling that would happen at some point, especially with the Warsh confirmation, on the table there. ENVB though continues to climb. 681 now the high.
All right, you guys are saying, what's up, QQQ? Well, we're getting a market bounce here. That SPY is still flirting with the VWAP. I just don't know how great I feel about it. The futures are not going through the VWAP either. Here's your Qs bounce. Now your Qs here, this is also, let's see, this did go through the VWAP. Let's see if we can get a candle close above it though.
Looks like LiDAR is coming back in quite a bit. OGN is losing its VWAP. I think we might be seeing the end of the morning trading here.
Yeah, I think so too.
Which is fine, because now we get to go have a Friday.
Yeah, I was going to say, not so great here for Friday action. I'm glad we were able to get QS out of the gate there. Shout out to everyone else that got ENVB and all that. SNDK getting mentioned by Kathy.
Yeah,
I had a nice little pop, still sub 1,000.
Yeah, but still making new all-time highs.
Yep.
So I assume Micron's probably getting a lift as well. Yeah, that's up over 3.5%. This one actually just hit 500. And curious candle we have there.
On SanDisk?
No, Micron.
Oh, Micron. Let me go MU here real fast.
Yeah, because we just hit 500 with this. I was looking for 515. I have a level marked off there. I can't remember exactly why I put that there, but I think that's a target that was mentioned at some point. So 500, if we end up with this candle, that's going to be the second. Well, this will be more of a spinning top than a doji, but
good news though on Micron. I had a possible head and shoulders here. That's been invalidated, so that's the good news. I'm deleting that from the chart. I don't see where that 515 would have came from, or at least I don't obviously see it yet.
I may have done some kind of measurement, that indicated 515 was going to be where the next big resistance is. That could have been it. I just don't remember what it was. But one of the things I think we pointed out with Micron was how it was forming a megaphone pattern. That's where the price has a run up and then starts to form a broadening wedge at the top there. And that's what we ended up getting. And we're breaking out of this broadening, this megaphone pattern, this broadening wedge. Now, you can take the highs from that broadening wedge, which would be the high from January of 2026 through the high from March this year, and draw a trend line. And that's going to give you a bit of a support area. We'll see if it holds up. But this was just a former resistance area that we just broke through. And now we'll see if it holds up that support.
So now things may start getting interesting here for the market. We did have the S&P futures cross through the VWAP. SPY is moving through the VWAP and the 9 EMA. My 0 DTE indicator is flashing a buy signal, but if you're going to take that, I'd be very careful and not let it go red on you. But getting a nice little pop here on SPY. We are through 710. We'll see if this can hold up.
See, is there any news to go along with that pop?
Just that news about the Department of Justice dropping the probe against Powell.
Yeah. And then we had consumer expectations about 13 minutes ago.
That was higher than estimate.
Yes. And it really didn't look like it did a whole lot for the market. INVE and Microsoft liking 420 4 days too late. Well, that's probably because they were high and forgot about it.
Kathy saying fixed, disappointing after pre-market reaction to earnings. Yeah, indeed. This gave everything back, didn't it? Right back down to where it closed yesterday.
Oh, yeah. Jay, that cable business. Oh, man. Look at Charter. This is hilarious. They had earnings. Mixed earnings. Quite a bit of margin compression there, looks like. But I mean, the cord cutting continues.
Yep.
Now I wonder if we're going to see a potential short squeeze move maybe next week, because this has some pretty high short interest, high days to cover, and I'm sure shorts are loving this right now, and we have actually just gap filled or about to gap fill a gap that was created from January 29th.
I'm sorry, on
30th.
which one?
Charter, the one we're talking about.
CHTR. Yeah, sorry,
Yeah.
I'm reading stuff 13, so sometimes I join in late there.
Okay.
I'm sorry, man.
Yeah, so Charter's bad earnings print, or investors not liking it. It's coming down almost 20%. But we likely hit 20% if we gap fill here, but that's going to take us all the way down to looks like 190, 152 if we gap fill. What was the low here today? 194.43. So,
man, that looks bad.
Yeah, but that's so we're in gap fill territory. It's a little gap, but that fills from the January 29th high. Maybe we get some support there. We'll see. But this looks like it could be a potential short squeeze play next week. We'll just have to watch and see what happens. But keep in mind that short interest is particularly notable. Almost 28% of the float shorted, nearly 10 days to cover.
That charter chart looks rough. Gen Z pool guy saying SanDisk hit 1,000.
Just now it did?
Yep, looks like it. Let's go back to that 5-minute chart here.
It just did. Yep. Just did in the last 5-minute candle, I believe. Yeah. Go here and look. Oops. One day I'll learn how to type.
I struggle with that too at 13. It's super frustrating.
Yeah, so that last 5-minute candle, that took us up there, 1,002.09 cents.
ELPW at VWAP. Where are you, ELPW? SPY bounce is trying to materialize. Like I said, don't really trust these a whole lot. We'll see if that changes. Here's your ELPW. This is actually interesting, Wes. Right at that VWAP there, 381 ELPW. Can't get through it yet.
Some of these movers from this morning are trying to, they're showing some recovery on low volume, so don't know how great this is going to be, but they are trying to show some recovery here. MXL, ELPW, and CAST.
Jay here saying it's why buying names in downtrends is tough. They may bounce, but it may be short-lived. Mm-hmm. ELPW is trying to go through its VWAP here. What do we think, Wes? We'd like to see this volume expand, wouldn't we?
Yeah. Yeah, I think we would. And I don't know where you have for VWAP, but it's the price is trying to work its way through my VWAP.
I got
right
381.
Now. Yep, same.
And then for ENVB, I have the VWAP here at 395. This thing has run away from it. Wait, that can't be right. No, that was just because my cursor was in the wrong spot. 617 on ENVB. How you doing, Scott? And Tom, you were asking if there was any news on this. Let's take a look and see what we got here for ENVB. ELPW slammed away from that. No, I have no fresh news on ENVB. Sorry, I know I'm going back and forth with a couple of tickers that start with E. It's probably confusing. ENVB, I don't see any news on that.
Okay, so SNDK, happy it printed 1,000, but it's not having a great time trying to get back above that level.
Matthew saying INFQ 1325 might be a good buy spot. Didn't you have 12 to 13?
Yep. This is getting pretty close to
pretty close there.
If not almost right at that spot where this would represent a pretty good buying area.
Hey, Wisdom crawled out of his bunker. Looking like is back in the world there. Much love to the staff of the community. Much love to you, Wisdom. We talked about you the other day. 13 exhaled blunt smoke and put the signal in the air, and you didn't show up. So glad to see you now.
Yeah, and I had fun doing it.
I like how you just rolled with that, frankly. I like how you just rolled with that.
Oh, I take all kinds of hits. See what I did there. All right, so
I did see what you did there, by the way.
So yeah, we're getting a little bit more weakness here in SNDK. INFQ, that's an interesting bounce there, right down to 1307 and kind of bouncing.
That privacy guy said he didn't even pass it. That's funny. That is funny.
So much for a CMG recovery back in the 33s. Let's take a look at CMG.
Did the noob stop going there for lunch?
They got earnings in 5 days. We'll find out in 5 days. Let me look at a longer time frame here, or larger chart. Yeah, I'm looking at this monthly, and I don't like the way that looks. It looks like it could go under 30. And
by the way, I don't know if anyone else has this problem. ELPW is restricted on Schwab for me. The noob says I'll have to go visit. Maybe I will get some Chipotle for lunch as well today. We'll join you guys. I'll join you. We'll see if we can help same store sales there. SPY trying to bounce again. My indicator flashing a signal again. I still am having trouble trusting. Should I just try it on this one?
That's how mistakes get made.
I know. Well, I'm thinking
you're getting FOMO.
I'm thinking here. You know what it is more so than that. It's just that Lion, take care of yourself. Have a great weekend. We've seen the market on days where it's kind of been soft like this. We've seen it bounce. We've seen it trade back up, and that would be great for a zero DTE trade. My indicator's telling me that it looks like it wants to. I don't know. Yeah, I feel like it's going to get rejected here. I know what you're saying, though. I know what you're saying. This is the battle.
Yeah.
This is the battle, especially when you're relying on an indicator to tell you entry and exit.
And you're also talking intraday. I'm looking at a monthly chart and thinking, yeah, this looks like it's going to go lower, but it's not going to go lower to where I'm thinking it could go today. It's going to take some time.
Marionette, take care of yourself. Thanks for all of your support.
Take care, Lion. Take care, Marionette. And Retro, enjoy the mountains. I will be sticking around here and enduring the summer weather.
The Teton Mountains. Oh, out west. Oh man, Retro, send me some pictures, bro. You got my email, right? I love those mountains out there. Love.
Enjoy your time on top of a mountain. That's never going to get old for me. That's probably one of the best lines out of Anchorman.
I mean, Anchorman is full of good lines.
Mm-hmm.
The Human Torch was denied a bank loan. I mean, how do you even make that up?
Anyway, I don't want to get that. His mind was all over the place there.
Unique New York.
Unique. That's a good tongue twister.
That's how I warm up every day, guys.
Okay. Let him have everybody. On Monday, we're going to ask him, did you unique New York today?
Well, you'll know, because if I'm tripping over my words, you'd be like, Ryan, you might need to go back to practice right there.
Oh. Right. Still sideways price action. MXL. ELPW trying to get back above that VWAP. Cast still sideways. OGN underneath its 65 EMA trying to recapture it. SST underneath its VWAP. LiDAR showing signs of trying to turn around, but it's well under some of these resistance levels. Yeah, not seeing a whole lot of opportunities at the moment. How about y'all?
I did see a big trade here come across the wire on Caterpillar. It's the 800 calls that expire. What is that expiry? September of this year. Part of me wonders if that's a closing trade. Trader spent 1.12 million on that. Can't tell though, for sure on that one. But that's been the biggest transaction that I've seen across that scanner today.
I mean, this thing kind of has to come in. I don't know what everybody's opinion on how much this is run in such a short period of time, but here we are.
Westcap, take care of yourself. Go low, buddy.
Let's see.
What do you got?
This thing has got a almost 220% gain in a year.
Yeah.
And we're still very extended here on a monthly 81 RSI. It could be a closing trade. I get that there's a lot of demand for data center build-outs, and I think that's what a lot of this movement is from. So I wouldn't be a buyer up here. That's just me. Now, Peter, you're in cat long term.
He has been for a while. Peter's doing good on cat.
Yeah.
Peter's
He's probably got like, 2-digit share prices. I don't know.
Mark, take care of yourself. Have a great weekend, buddy. Appreciate all your support and ideas in here. We'll see you on Monday.
Take care, Mark.
And this is, with everyone leaving here, I guess this is a really good time. Guys, if you enjoy spending time with us here, smash up the like. Hit that like, share it with your friends. Let's keep growing our community. We're definitely trying to create something that's a little bit different than everything else out there. If what you want to do is follow somebody that drives around in a Lambo and promises that he can help you make a Lambo, or she, be my guest. Good luck. I hope that you get it, and I want to ride if you do get it. But for the rest of us here, taking, I guess, a more realistic approach, there's lots of good here in this community, and we are absolutely looking to expand that. So help us out. What do you got?
RGTZ just kind of been a consistent upward mover this morning. So that continues to do pretty well. Just kind of looking at some of these older names, that Click, kind of very, very slow moving, but it's up almost 6%. I'm just kind of looking around to see if I could see anything that looks interesting, and I'm just kind of shouting out what I'm noticing. But it just, I don't know. This might just be the time to say thanks for all the price action and trading this morning, and call it a good morning and go have the rest of the day.
Tom says this is the most informative, down to earth channel on YouTube by far. Tom, I appreciate that. I love hearing that. I love hearing that. The whole thing here is, we're like you, right? We're not Wall Street, silver spoon folks. We're trying to do it like you. Ed here says only 100 likes. I got to think that the counter's not correct there. But smash it up. Cam says the market is kind of sleeping. I'll be honest, Cam, I think I agree with you, dude. I don't have, I got QS right out of the gate. I've been looking at SPY, don't feel great about it. I don't know. It feels sleepy.
And there was a mention here. Any IPO thoughts? One thing we talked about yesterday was that when we finally do get the actual date of when SpaceX will, IPO, because we already know, we know for now that it's in June, but we don't have a date. I think once we do get a date, once that filing happens, we'll probably start seeing some weakness in some really big names, like maybe NVIDIA, as funds are going to probably have to liquidate in order to get ready to buy the SpaceX IPO. We also have some other IPOs coming out this year that could also have the same result. I think Anthropic is still due to come out this year. Anduril, I believe, is also trying to target this year. So there could be some significant selling in some names that have just had some really big moves in order to make room for the IPOs that are coming. That's just one thing that we've been talking about. So we'll end up seeing what's going to end up happening with that.
Ed says the show's tons of incredible content. We appreciate that, Ed. JD says, I'm really happy I found you guys. We're happy you found us too. Lance, I love it. I love all of the positive comments right now. Thank you guys. You guys asking about XE here. XE new IPO will start trading today. Okay. I didn't have this one on my radar. Shame on me. This is X Energy. Let's see what I got about on this. This is a leading developer of advanced SMR and fuel technology for clean energy generation. It's seeking to redefine the nuclear energy industry through its flagship product, the XE100, an advanced small modular HTGR design to generate 80 megawatts of electric power. Okay, 13, right off the bat here, this feels like it's the same thing as SMR and Oklo, where it's kind of a story trade.
Sorry, I feel like I've seen information about X Energy before this IPO. Okay, so X Energy is okay. So Amazon is X Energy's largest customer. They are working on making a power. I think that's where I saw this before. They're making power plants in Texas. There's a proposed 4-unit power plant at Seadrift, at Doe's Seadrift area. So I think that's probably where I've noticed this name before, is that they are in the nuclear space, when I was trying to look into some of these other energy names. So Interesting. I'd have to look into some more of this.
You know what? I am interested to see how it trades here today. I can't guarantee you that I'm going to try it. I mean, I already was exhibiting some FOMO earlier, so maybe I do. Real quickly here, that privacy guy says, X gonna give it to you. I mean, I miss Mitch. I can't possibly imitate it like Mitch used to do. He had like a DMX voice that he practiced. It was something else. All right.
Real quick, because Joe Schmo was asking about INVE, and we did talk about it. He says the guys at Story Trading have been pumping it. Your thoughts? I liked it too. I talked about this one earlier. This looks like it has a inverse head and shoulders going on. I think the chart looks great. This could probably come up, to 8. I would just looking at the chart. But I do like the price action it's been forming here at the bottom. Looks to me like it's inverse head and shoulders, and that it's just setting up to go higher.
Okay. All right. 13, any closing words for the group before we move on to Anne-Marie?
You know what? It wasn't the best day for trading. We did have a lot of selling, but you know what? That's just kind of the name of the game. That's the way the animal works. But there's a whole week tomorrow. We got a lot of catalysts coming up. The end of the month, we're going to probably see some window dressing as we approach the new month of May. So bring your cash and your smiles back here on Monday. We're going to have a ton of fun, and we'll make some trades and we'll make some money. Until then, folks, have a wonderful rest of your weekend. Goodbye. Well
done, 13. Take care and enjoy the draft tonight if you do watch that. Couple of things to clean up here before we move to Anne-Marie. Black Mamba saying some very sick calls from Paulo on Marvell in here. I made 1,000% off the calls from one of them. Yo, be sure to tell him that. And if it's Sandy today, be sure to tell her that, because I know folks love hearing that. They love hearing when they help with that. Black Mamba, that's absolutely awesome. Register ring for you for sure. Be sure to tell him. Be sure to tell him. And then Cam says, have a great weekend. Best to your White Sox. Cam, now you trolling me. Now you out here trolling me. I don't ever root for the White Sox to win. I'm a Cubs fan. I'm a Cubs fan. They've won 9 straight, baby. 9 straight. They took out the Mets. They took out the Phillies. Dodgers up next. Maybe famous last words. All right, let's bring on Anne-Marie and see how she's doing. Anne-Marie, how are you? Happy Friday. Welcome back to the show.
Happy Friday to you too. Because I'm only on one screen, I really can't see your face. Because
you're not missing it. You're not missing anything, it turns out. But
come on, listen. I was listening to all the stories this morning, and the hairs growing out of different parts of our eyebrows made me burst out laughing.
As long as it made you burst out laughing instead of burst out barfing, we're in fine shape. This is just what it happens as you get older. You start to deal with some of the stuff like this.
Absolutely.
All right, Anne-Marie, I know it's been a bit since you've been here. What do you got for us? I can ask the group for stock ideas here if you'd like. But if you have anything, let's just start with that.
Yeah, so a couple of things. Let's just stare down the heat map in terms of what's going on.
Okay, now I see you sharing our stream. I don't see your broker.
Oh, you don't see Thinkorswim?
I do not see Thinkorswim.
Okay. All right. Let's try that again. Whoa. Okay. Let's try that again. Okay. Share. How do I unshare? Stop. And now let's go screen. And then share entire screen. And so that's us all together going crazy ad infinitum. Yep. And now
we see Thinkorswim.
Ta-da.
Perfect.
We can always get it done.
Yeah, we deal with tech issues here. That's one of the things we're adept at.
So some super interesting, everything is just compute. So any dip, these semis come in and bounce, but everybody's getting along in the tooth right now. So I'm going to show you a couple of interesting things that you can look at in the chart. But in general, I'm looking at tech and I'm thinking to myself, okay, that's getting along in the tooth. So I'm going to show you what to watch for potentially later on in the day or on Monday. And then if things happen, when we talk on Tuesday, we'll be in good shape. Okay, so what I thought that I would look at is the price to volume leaders today to see how much they've run, how close they are to earnings, And then what kinds of post-earnings events might we see? Because as you and I have spoken offline, options remain very expensive and vol crush is real. And so that's really what we want to watch. So a couple of these names are the ones that we've seen. I want to talk to you about SPY and what's happening right now. So
Great.
We've been dancing around the VWAP all day. What we notice is from the prior day, we have higher lows. On the hourly chart, what we are seeing is the 200 simple moving average down with the wicks that we've tested in prior days. So if per happenstance we get some sort of news bomb, stare this down, and if it happens to come at 3:30 on the dip, you're going to get a 0 DTE that's so cheap you're not going to believe your eyes. And it will give you the bounce back up into this 706 area. That's my suspicion. Right here, it's in a very jagged space. We're sitting near the 50, we're sitting near the 100, and on the 30-minute chart, what we saw yesterday is a lot of traders positioning underneath where we currently are right now. And so the line in the sand that buyers will want to recover by the end of the day, if they lose it, is going to be that 707. So you might choose 706, see if you can get something pretty nice. But right now, I am looking for a short to sell because I believe price action is telling me that we are congested, waiting for something. I don't know what, but that's what we're seeing.
Okay.
All right. So the big ones on the list, everybody's talked about them, right? We've got AMD moving up, Intel moving up, Tesla moving up,
Car
Nvidia
moving down.
Yes, yes.
We had a lot of
Oh my
stuff.
word. Okay, so let me show you car. Let me show you what's going on here. So here's why it's very important, ladies and gentlemen, for you to look at what the 3:30 closing candlestick is of the prior day and what the 9:30 candlestick is at the open. You look at the closing range and the opening range. If that closing range at 3:30 gets broken after a test higher and it loses the 50 simple moving average or it loses the pivot, it is going to walk all the way down through the next levels. It's going to walk down through the 9:30 that was moving up before. It's going to walk down the 9:30 below that, and then it's going to walk down the 9:30 below that. This 9:30 opening range candle is going to give you a lot of information that you can see on the chart. So right now, we are below the 9:30 candlestick of yesterday, but look at what the traders are doing today. This is the 30-minute close of yesterday, and here is that opening candle. They just broke it, so chances are this is where the ride is going to start moving to the downside. So we shall see. Let's see if that gives us all the way to the move. I think 131 is where this chart ends up, but in the meantime, it's just simply going to walk down. Here it is at 209. It's the 3:30 close at 205, and then this is the next candle. It's going to try and battle through at 181, and it might be a slow grind, but I suspect it is going to be a grind that continues. So
okay, Lion, he likes hearing that. Lion says 150 is his target. You're saying 130. There you go. That would be pretty good. Lion did exactly what I told you I wanted to do, Anne Marie, and just bought straight out puts.
You
and
know,
ended up crushing it.
Fortune favors the bold.
Yeah. You know what?
always.
That's so true, because on this one, I definitely felt like I was just too skittish. Like, even in the moment, I was like, it
You knew
doesn't
you were
feel
right,
right.
though, but you knew you were right on the direction. I,
Yeah. I
a
was
guy,
wrong on the timing, straight up.
yes, but it's hard to get right on the timing. If
Yeah.
you stare down these 3:30 and 9:30 candlesticks and they start breaking, you've got yourself something that shows up. So, yeah, I mean, I know somebody that sold the 700 calls outright when it got to about 725.
How did they
They
feel
sold,
at 850?
oh my gosh, sweating. I
Yeah.
have
See.
no idea whether he held it or not, because they were naked calls.
Yeah.
So for me, I'm like, good on you, buddy.
Yeah.
I'll see you on the flip
That's kind of
side.
where I was at. That's kind of where I was at. I was like, you know what? I can't cry over this. Feels too rich for my blood. Definitely feels skittish in the moment. So that's it.
It is what it is. Yeah. Okay, so let's take a look at some earnings formations. Is this the one I want? Or is this the one I want? Yes, this is the one I want. Okay, so what we're going to stare down is, oh, yes, this is going to be very interesting. Amazon is going to be interesting. We'll talk about that on Tuesday. That'll be on our list to discuss. So, taking a look at AMD, this is in an absolute squeeze. Absolute monstrosity of a squeeze. Here's what we know. Micron did this same thing while I was in Japan, and it ran like a scalded dog for $300. I mean, just insane price action, and then it faded. So what do we want to look for the fade? To me, this one, super simple. If it loses $334, buy the 300 290 put spread. What that shows me is the following. Only if it breaks that level do you want to take it, and you want to be sure that your stop is whatever the close of this candle is. So if it's $10 and you buy yourself an option spread, just realize if it breaks the high, you're done. But take it if it loses the low, because you've got a managed high up here. If it moves above 350, you're sitting on the wrong side of the trade. I believe that this price action is absolutely going to rotate down. Now, how long it takes might be longer than I think, but we are getting to the spot where all the forensic data that measures seasonality says we're about to have a turn. So that in itself, let's go to 8 and see 8 and then 7. Okay, so here we are at 7, here we are at 8. Man, my eyeballs. I feel like I've been doing Fibonacci's a long time.
And you have.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's what we're looking at. That is very extended from the last earnings event. They're going into a new earnings event on the 5th. So you might go, Anne-Marie, what do I do here? Listen, it's probably going to run into earnings, so it's not going to break down here. But wait until after that earnings post, and the day the earnings opens up, here's what you want to do. You want to go to your you want to go to your candlesticks, and you want to look at your 3:30 close, and you want to look at your 9:30 open. And if you break the low of that 3:30 close, it's going to give it all back. Or whatever it is that it's tried to move up. But that's what you're seeing. These 330s and the 930s tell us where the strength of motion is, and that gives us that further upside. If it moves up above that 930, you take it long. If it moves down below whatever the close is of that 330, you can take it short and then look for the prior levels of resistance to give you support. So, and that was for AMD.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's
real quick, 13
yeah.
here said, show her the AMD trend line. So here's what I've got. So real quick, and I'm sorry, I didn't actually read this right when he had sent this here. He said, show her the AMD trend line. Her put spread lines up with that area. So what was your spread again?
The 300, 290.
300, 290. The back test of this trend line is about 276. One of the things that we were saying earlier is we would like to see AMD maybe come back into that area. Sounds like you're saying the same thing here with options.
Yeah. Yeah. And
actually, if I go back, if I go to a daily resolution, it's even more closely related to that spread. That's what he meant. Good call, 13.
Yeah. So here's the problem. Do you see how expensive these things are?
Yeah.
They're atrocious. They're absolutely atrocious. Now, you might go, hey, $2, but the chart is trending up. So what you're taking is a reversal. And so you really want to be cautious about that, especially if the price action continues to rise. So if you do take it at $2, this has got the May 15 expiry on it. So when are earnings? What day are earnings?
For which stock?
AMD.
AMD is 11 days. It's Tuesday, May 5th after the market.
Yeah. So you've got 10 days. And I'm going to tell you, the cycles are running so fast right now that 10 days, you're going to go, all right, I can make my money and be gone. The cycles are just at speeds I have not. Things that we would see take weeks and months to grind through, we are watching them pan out in weeks, 2 weeks, 10 days, 15 days. It's insane. It's truly insane. The speed is incredible. Yeah. So you can participate in that. Let's take a look at Intel, because, everybody, I was reading on a blog post, somebody said, I guess the only way I'm going to get out of my Intel short is to die. So
that don't sound good.
They're very much underwater. What it is really extreme in terms of price action. And so when did we have the earnings? Just this morning or after market yesterday?
It was yesterday after hours.
Yeah. So no, that's not what I want to do, Fred. My word. Let's try it again.
My brother's name is Fred.
Is it?
Yes.
That's not a name people name their kids anymore. Is he a lot older than you?
Yeah, he is. He was on my dad's side from a previous marriage. Interestingly enough, first of all, dude's brilliant. His name's Fred Faluna. He actually worked with Kerry Mullis. He was his data guy when Mullis was figuring out the PCR test.
Interesting.
He's mentioned in Kerry's book too. So pretty just interesting fun fact on the side there.
Yeah, I like it. Okay, so side note, we are looking at a topping formation trying to build in SPY right now. So watch it there. If you try the wash back and forth, it might not be a bad idea. But here's what's going on with Intel. Here is the support zone. All the buying post-market. Here is our 6 o'clock candlestick. That's just given us our floor. So traders are going to try and buy this at the 80 mark. And if it doesn't work out, they're going to try again at 75. If per happenstance it breaks up and then fails that 75, it's going to fill the gap. Now, this thing was very oversold. So we really need to watch that. But from an intraday perspective, go in there, mark the line. Now, why does this line work? Well, we got a 50 moving average up. We have a 200 moving average up. We have a lot of volume giving it as support. So if it breaks, they're going to wash, rinse, repeat over and over again. They're going to fight about it, just like SPY has been fighting at, whatever that 709 number it is all day. And that is what's going to happen. When they decide, you're going to see it either lift off that edge or fade down into the deeper support. Either one of those going to be very quick strike trades. My philosophy right now is give the quick strike trade. You're in, you're out, and don't wait around and pay a lot for these options because they are too stinking expensive. They are. Yeah. Okay, let's look at Tesla. Yeah, go ahead.
Well, real quick, I wanted to ask you about Qualcomm because Qualcomm actually traded up today in sympathy with Intel and then came back in.
Okay, now here's what's super cool. Here's Qualcomm. Now this is getting ready to break down. How do we know? Well, here's all the support. And then look at all the volume here at 9:30. And what are people going to do if they come in at 9:30? They're doing one of two things. Hey, this is moving in sympathy. It's going to short. Hey, this is moving in sympathy. It's going to stay long. So they just wait. So now the short's engaged. So ideally, what's the stop? It's going to be halfway through that candlestick. 148. You got it at 143. That's $5. You're like, whoa, that's a lot. Then you wait. And if it comes into 147, you can take the short. And with only $1.50, you can get an option that expires, I don't know, Monday, something like that, or probably Friday with Qualcomm. And then you can continue on. This is going to come back to where all of the other volume is sitting. What we are seeing in the market is classic institutional hedge fund flow that says wash, rinse, repeat. All the CTAs, they got long at the beginning of April. They were expecting to be long for months. It went straight up. And now they're just sitting around going, well, I know the market's going to be up in the third quarter. So maybe I'll sell off a little bit. Maybe I'll buy some puts over here, sell some calls against what I own. The market is incredibly hedged. They are so hedged. That's why the shorts are not taking over, and that's why the longs are not taking over.
Interesting.
Because they're bounded. And that bounding, Goldman Sachs just put something out that said, hey, listen, we're coming into another segment event where they're going to start rotating out of some of these stocks or selling calls against them. So here's an interesting stat that I discovered today. If the SPY moves dramatically, like I think it's moved, 3, 4, 5% in the last week, and you look across the individual segments of what's in the S&P 500 and see how many of them have moved up by 5% or more. And what you're going to see is a dislocation. A very small group of them have moved up. Everybody else is just sort of floating around. And what that tells us is that once again, they are repositioning. Now, I do the 13 Fs. I'm going to share them with the Benzinga Pro members. The last day for that is May 15. I'm going to do the analysis that I did last time, bring it out, talk to you guys about it, and set up some trades. But the early players, guess what? They're getting out of the fence. They're moving back into the hyperscalers, and they have bought an extraordinary amount of out of the money long puts. They're hedged.
Yeah. Okay.
Because when it goes up, they're like, all right, I'll trim some. When it comes down, they get to take some of their puts off, and then they keep wash, rinse, repeat.
Now
and
you
you're
have,
seeing this.
yeah, okay.
Go ahead.
And then you have more capital for adding to the actual long-term position. Yeah, yep.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay.
Interesting days ahead. Yep.
Yeah, indeed there is. Do you have it? Let's see, we've got 6 minutes here. Do you have anything else you want to cover?
Well, I do want to talk about Micron because everybody in
Perfect.
the world is talking about Micron right now. And listen, it's moving up, no doubt. We've seen this story before. I'm going to go to earnings. I'm going to do this again. And so this one is, it just had earnings a little bit ago, fell off a cliff. And now we are sitting, I've got this incredible measure that Claude built for me. Actually, Gemini built this one. And it says, tell me how many commodity technical advisors are piling into this stock. The higher the number is, the directional flow is going to move, right? So 50 is middle of the range. Some of them are like, 20, 15. They're not even paid attention to at all. Here, there's a little bit of movement, but again, everybody's realizing the speed implies a rotation. So they positioned on the edge, and then now they're just moving up into a space that's going to look a lot better in the future, per se. So if we do the big thing, and that's looking at the big volume event, that's the biggest one in recent times, are here, and then look at the reversal pattern that it built. Just a huge reversal pattern. And so now, should it come in and sort of stall out at 500 to 530? Yes, but we're going to wait. And again, the way that we figure out, hey, is this chart going to move up or move down, is by looking at that intraday formation to see, wait a second, are we holding above the areas where everybody planted the flag? And you can still see them doing that. So, yeah, I think that that's going to be also something nice for us to talk about next week. Right now, if you're looking to play this, you're chasing. For me, there's no way I would. I'm so far away from the 200 simple moving average that I simply would not go long at the top of this edge. I would wait for it to pull back, kiss the VWAP at 500, and then try the long again until it exhausts.
Okay. All right. Awesome. Folks, get your tickers ready for next week. Sounds like we're going to have a big one. And I'm really excited. Yeah, Bonanza. I'm really excited to get to that there on Tuesday. Humor me here for just a sec, Anne-Marie, just because you reminded me. I wanted to dive into this a little bit more. Proud bro, I guess you could say. Fred Faluna was Kerry Mullis's close early collaborator and research assistant at CETUS, and he helped run the first PCR experiments by cycling DNA reactions and refining the technique with Mullis. He also contributed to working on PCR applications afterwards, including DNA and RNA sequencing, and later the PCR detection methods. In practical terms, Fred Faluna was part of the hands-on bench work that turned the idea into a usable protocol. Mullis describes him as the person who helped him with the first PCR experiment itself. So pretty cool little piece of history there.
That's awesome.
Shout out to my brother Fred. Happy shout out, bro, Tato Chip, but that's what it is. So anyway,
it's nice.
Anyway,
hey, I love when people are proud of their siblings.
Yeah,
I do. I love that. That makes me happy.
Absolutely. He never reminded me how much smarter he was than me. So that's just how it goes with brothers. that's just how it goes. All right, Anne-Marie, do me a favor. Have a great weekend. We're going to catch up with you next week. I'm glad you're back. All right.
Thank you.
All right. Bye. That is Anne-Marie Baiynd, folks. Moving right along here. Let's go ahead and bring on Sandy or Sandra. I do this all the time. I do this all the time.
Just call me anything. I like them both. I like
do you know what? I'm going to keep mixing them then, because you're so good. You're going to need two names. But before we get in, before I have you tell us about what's happening here, I do want to mention there was a big time shout out for your collaborator, Paulo, earlier. I want to read this to you because I don't know if this gentleman is still here. Let me see if I can find the comment here. Where is that comment? I'm sorry. Some very sick calls from Paulo on Marvel in here. I made 1,000% off call from one of the calls that he made on this program. So we're proud of that.
That is awesome. I am so thankful. He's my right-hand man. He's a good guy and a great charting analysis person. Really into it. Just, really gives us some really good picks in our community. So he's been on fire. He's just been on fire lately. And
it's working for our community too. And for that, we appreciate it a lot. With that as an aside here, what do you got coming up for us today?
Today we're just going to take a look at Sophie, TDD, and Google and kind of look at the market and go, okay, what's next? Because one day we're up, one day we're down. So, that washing machine just keeps on turning. But I got to tell you, price action's above the moving averages. We're looking strong, a bit extended today. We kind of missed the move overnight, right?
Yeah.
But if you were in some positions, some long positions yesterday, you're having a good day today, and I would take my profits.
Okay. All right. There you go. Trading Made Simple with Sandra starts right now.
Ooh.
Welcome back, traders. This is Sandra with Trading Made Simple. I'm here to show you short-term proven strategies. People think trading is a one-size-fits-all market. It's not. We live trade and train daily. Let's talk trading.
Benzinga, hope you guys are having a great day. Look at the heat map. When you see some of these tickers like MU and NVIDIA and AMD, and you're taking a look at those charts and you're like, whoa. Some of those are just pumping overnight, right? And then you take a look at the broader market and you're like, well, what's happening everywhere else? So definitely, sector, specific, right? So we do have some names, kind of outside here, the norm. Consumer staples, we got PG. Tesla's just doing okay. Amazon's doing all right. But you can see NVIDIA, MU, AMD, INTC, QCOM really lit up green. However, when you look at the financials, you got some mixed messages in information technology, consumer staples, healthcare, even energy, right? I mean, it doesn't look all that great from looking at it, kind of 10 steps back and taking a look at the entire market. But if you're into technology and you're looking at some of these names, look at this, guys. What a gap up, right? You are really enjoying some of these profits today. Now, we are getting extended. If you take a look at, any momentum indicator, you can see that we're getting close to this 200 range. That typically is an overbought level. So want to be cognizant of that. I have the 200 right below. Since that's what we were paying attention to not too long ago. But you can see now I have the 20 above here. And look at how high AMD is away from that 20. And so whenever we get so far away from one of our basically leading indicators for me for short-term trend, you could see how far away we are from it. And that should always be a warning sign to you that, hey, look, we're fully extended, and we typically will have to come back and retest. And so that would be, right? That would be a really big retest for AMD. So keep your eye on some of these stocks that look overextended. They may be coming back down. What does that tell you if you're in profit today? It tells you might want to take some of those profits off the table. And so some of these other names, you can see that they actually look really nice, strong. Momentum, let me just show you this really quick. Momentum coming down and then kind of just coming right back up again. And so when you see this wave of momentum, this is a really good sign that you're going to have continuation. So Amazon actually looking pretty good here, also above its daily pivot high. So I like Amazon looking good. Let's take a look at some of these other, let's take a look at Microsoft. Microsoft not having as much pump, but still you could see that the wave of momentum, there's a little bit of a divergence here. You got momentum on the downside, right? And yet, you know, now we're like evening out here. If we can stay above that zero line and curve right back up again, we could see it come back up here to the 433 area and basically do a double top. So we'll have to see what ends up happening for next week. It's Friday, so a lot of things can happen over the weekend. And you'll notice that I have this like wartime dashboard on my chart, something that we created at TMS to identify, hey guys, you know, we're still in a conflict, right? So regardless of what you do over the weekend and your mind is off the market, we're still in a very interesting position with this conflict. And until that conflict is truly over, you're going to have these really sharp ebb and flows in the marketplace. And right now, you can see that the VIX is down below 20, which is great. Oil's down, which is immediately tied, right, to the market. If oil goes up, then the market's going to be going down. So we have oil down, we have gold up. Gold is a hedge for institutions. And then we have yields up, right? Bonds. And so you can see that even though oil is down and the sector, you know, we have one specific sector that's really hot right now. The rest of the market is just kind of waiting. And so let's take a look at SPY really quick, see how SPY looks. And so SPY doing very good today. Not as strong as some of the other tickers that we're pumping. But still, you know, making it on a daily, the momentum, right, is cresting. I like it when the momentum crests. We're staying above. There's a vertical trend line right up here. You can see we've been consolidating for several days in this area. What happens after consolidation? We either get a breakout or a breakdown. So we are extended from the 20, but you can see that the 20 is actually rising. Now, there's two ways that price can get down to, basically it's bell curve, right? This is like a bell curve. So you have that ebb and flow of a bell curve. And so when you think about like, well, are we too extended? Is price going to come down? Well, the other thing too is time, a time value. So as time stands still and as SPY goes sideways, the moving average will rise and meet price. And that's another way that you can have basically that ebb and flow, is that just as price is just going sideways, that the EMA actually comes to meet it. It has the time in order to do that. And so as it's getting closer, then that fear of, oh, we're too far away is no longer present if the EMA keeps rising and gets closer to price. And so that's what I'm seeing here right now, is that as SPY was moving up, the EMA is trying to catch it. As SPY is going sideways now for the week, you could see that the EMA is still rising. It's not plateauing and going sideways like price is. And so now what was once we were too far away from it is actually now not that far away. So clearly we need to keep above, what's that price right about? 707.18, the last pivot high. I love pivot highs and lows. 697.82, kind of that line in the sand, right? Staying above those levels would mean that SPY could continue to the upside. If we break below, though, that last pivot high at 697.58, then we could be coming down to retest the 20. And then I don't have the 50 here. I may need to put that on here. In fact, you know, since the 200 is here, you know, we need to keep an eye on that. But as long as the developments in the Middle East continue to be kind of in a, you know, a recovery point of view or a ceasefire point of view, then I think that the market, as well as the institution flow, is actually pricing in that. It's only when there's some sort of headline, some sort of bombing, some sort of, real event that could make the market go down. And that being a direct correlation with oil. So if you keep your finger on the pulse with VIX and oil, I think those are your two leading indicators for this wartime volatility. And the prices of some of these tickers are really expensive right now, especially for the ones that you saw the gap up in today. And so you want to be cognizant that, if you buy something too expensive and you're unable to sell it for more, you're not going to be able to make a profit. And a nice thing that you can do is maybe take a debit spread where you're buying one of the legs, you're selling the other. And so it kind of balances that price out for you. So as long as you give yourself some time, like next Friday, you can get into some of these positions. So as we take a look at SPY, I really like SPY. Let's go over some automation, because that's what Trading Made Simple is all about. We automate our trades, and we teach others how to automate their trades so they can set it and forget it. And that's typically what we do every single weekend. On Sundays, we automate our trades for the week, and then we let those play out, and then we rinse and repeat and do that every Sunday. And this allows you to participate in the market while you're not sitting in front of your screen all day. And so that makes it great. The other thing too is that we're really just using support and resistance levels to enter those trades as well as to exit with profit. Now, with this conflict in the Middle East, we've been taking profits a lot earlier than we normally would take. And the reason is because for a group of stocks, they could be gapping up today, but all of a sudden on Monday, it could be a complete reversal. Knowing that this pattern is constantly there allows you then to take a different type of vehicle, like a debit spread, or to take your profits off the table a lot quicker than you would normally take it. This is not a typical marketplace where you're just going to leave those stocks on like swing trades, right? Those option contracts for like swing trades. So let's get into a couple of these. I really like SPY right here. If you just wanted to get into, as an example, a trade where you're like, well, you know what? Let's take a look at some of these I have on my list. Let's take a look at SoFi. That's actually a pretty inexpensive stock we can get into. You could see that it's coming back on a daily to its 20. It already touched it yesterday. And now we're, I'm looking at the momentum. I'd really like to see momentum crest and then start to head up. But you could see we have a earnings event here on the 29th in the morning before the market opens. You want to be careful on earnings events. It's kind of a crapshoot, flip a coin type of deal. But if you have support and resistance and you're just entering from that criteria or rule, and you automate something so you have your stop loss in place, I think it's not a bad thing. So here we can see that it is cresting a little bit. It is staying above the zero line. We came down to do a retest. It's not that bad. So if I wanted to see some movement here, I could easily just look at this candle and just say, hey, yesterday we kind of had this high and this low. Today we're just kind of going sideways. If it breaks this candle, then I can see it moving up a little higher to its last high. So I would say, okay, I'm going to look right over here to this dashboard up here. And I'm going to say, okay, the high of that candle was 1890. So I could say anything over 1890 are calls. That's one way you could do it, right? You could also say, if it comes to retest again, the problem is that it already did a retest. So if it already did a retest, right, then we're really looking for this to make a decision and either fail that 20 or it's going to pop up above this candle and then start to head a little higher to its last high. So I would say 1890 is my line in the sand to go long. So what I could do is go over here to the trade tab and pick 7 days out because I want this to work out. Give it some time, right? And so I could go over to the first thing I want to do is make sure this is liquid enough. And it is. And how do we tell that it's liquid enough? And why would I even bring that up? Well, there's this term called Hotel California. You can check in, but you can never leave. And that's what I call it when a stock is not liquid enough. So you want to make sure that the volume is at least at 1 million. And then you want to make sure that at the money strikes on the call side, as well as the put side, they're actually identified independently. You want to make sure that at the money, you have at least 100 contracts in either the volume or open interest. And you can see we have plenty here, right? So now I'm going to go ahead and use the vertical, get into that vertical and say, okay, I'm going to go ahead and create this order. Now for here, I'm going to leave this as is, but right here under Sophie, I'm going to just start clicking, and you can see that it just defaults on mark, and that's totally fine. This trigger level is less than or equal to and greater than or equal to. So because we're talking about long calls, I'm putting it in the greater or equal to category. And if you don't, if you're not familiar with those triggers, trust me, after a couple times you will. But until then, you could just look right down here at the writing and it'll tell you, is it greater or less than equal to whatever the price is. And then the threshold is actually the stock price that we were looking at, right? So we said 1890 was that previous high candle. So we're going to just put in here 1890. And so now we're basically telling the system, hey, when the stock gets to 1890, I want you to go ahead and submit this order in. Okay. So now we look at the stock price. Now, because of the wartime volatility, typically I'm an aggressive buyer when I'm an automator. So I would typically change this to 00 and put ask. But because of this wartime volatility, we don't know if this is going to open up on Monday. And I want to make sure that I have a ceiling on how much I want to pay for this, as an example. So if I look over here and I say, okay, the going price is between 22 and 24 cents. I'll just take the midpoint, just say 23, and I'm going to add 25% to it, okay? Because that's all I'm willing to give if this ends up, the price ends up jacking up over the weekend, and let's say my trigger level of 1890 happens on Monday. I don't want to pay more for it because I recognize that if I'm paying too much for this, I'm not going to be able to sell it at a profit. And so that's the key element here that you want to protect yourself, especially during this wartime volatility, is to make sure that you have a ceiling on what you're going to buy so you're not overpaying. Because if the market makers are charging during a news event 100% or 500%, and by the way, that's typical during wartime volatility, and you get into that contract, you'll never be able to make money. It's a lose-lose situation. Knowing that puts you ahead, not only to save your capital, but maybe possibly to make some capital, right? So what I'm going to do is just put, hey, 23 cents is what I said is about the midpoint of what it's going for right now. And I'm just going to plus 25% on my calculator, and it says 0.287. So really then, I'm not willing to buy this over, and I'll just put 29 cents. Now, this is a manual order that I've entered in, and it's my ceiling. So let's just say at the end of the day or tomorrow, as an example, or Monday, there's some more headlines. The prices of option contracts go sky high. And all of a sudden, Sophie is above 1890 or hits 1890 and starts to break through. What this will do is it will check what the price of this vertical first is selling at. And if it's below 29 cents, it will get me in. Now, if it's 24 cents, right, it will get me in at 24 cents. So it will get me in at the better price. I'm just putting a ceiling there to protect myself. I'm saying I'm not willing to pay more than 25% of the going rate today to get into this contract because of the wartime volatility. And that's one way that you can save yourself from overpaying on a contract. And I'm going to save that. And that's it. We're good to go. Now, the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to put a stop loss on here. Actually, a take profit. I'm not going to do a stop loss, and I'll tell you why. So I'm going to ask for an opposite order, but I first have to say, hey, I want this to be a first. I could do either first triggers a sequel. It's pretty good, right? After one order triggers, which is my buy, then the next one is up in line, and that's going to be my let's see, create an opposite order. So this is going to be my take profit. Now we've been actually shooting for less. So typically on a vertical debit spread, we've been typically we would go for 50%. But we've actually changed that recently from wartime volatility. I'm going to put this good till cancel. I'm going to put this good till cancel. And here I'm going to hit trigger. And then now these little buttons pop up so you can hit percentage. And what I've been doing is taking profits earlier. So you can see I have a plus 25%. I have good till cancel. And now this order is in and I'm protected, right? Now, the deal with Schwab is ever since they took over TDA, the morning volatility has triggered stop losses. Even if your stop loss is at 50% and your contract's in the money, it will always trigger the stop loss during a volatility spike. It won't trigger your take profit. I always find that funny. It's only on your stop loss. And so because of that, we want to be mindful of this. The nice thing about a debit spread is it gives you diamond hands. You're able actually to hold on to this a lot longer than you would a straight call or a straight put. And because of that, you can just check this once a day and say, oh, am I staying basically within a 50% stop loss? If I am, then I'm just going to let this ride to the next day. Once it hits, and you can put an alert, by the way, for the 50%, but once you get that alert that, oh, you're at a 50% loss, that's when you would go into your platform or on your phone and then just close out your trade, right? Because it's not working out. And as soon as you hit that 50% stop loss and you start even going lower, you know, it's really hard to make that up in 1 week, right? And that's what this is. It's just a 7-day out. So knowing that, I'm going to say I'm going to take my 50% stop loss and I'm only shooting for a 25% gain because I recognize that the market can turn on a dime. And so I want to limit, right? I want to try to get my profits and leave. And that might happen today. It might happen on Monday. So it could be a very short trade. But the first thing we need is for Sophie to get above that 1890 to actually see this go a lot stronger. Okay. So that is basically it, how you would put in this trade. And then the next thing you want to do is just read it to make sure. And so here we have, hey, my max price is 29 cents for this debit spread. I'm selling it with a 25% profit. This triggers when it gets above 1890. And then I just recognize that because of Schwab's programming since they took over from TDA, that it's a little trigger happy during morning market volatility when we first open. Once you see something like that happen over and over and over again, it's a pattern. And then that pattern can cause you to lose money. And so you have to assimilate to what's happening and make your adjustments, just as you would in any type of environment. So knowing that, then, even though for years I've been programming my stop losses on verticals, any multi-leg spread, single calls and puts, no problem with your stop loss plugging that in. But on verticals, for whatever reason, under Think or Swim, that has been an issue. And so we've been adjusting to it. And that's how we've done it. So we got one in for Sophie. Let's take a look for Sophie because we really don't know if this is going to go down and maybe hit a put trade, right? And what could my put trade be? Well, I love the 20. We break underneath the 20. I think we're going to be going lower. So as you can see on the right-hand side here, it's lit up. My 20 is lit up at 1793. So I could just use the 1790 range to put in my put trade. So now I'm going to go over to the trade tab and I'm going to set my at the money put. Let me take a look because they are independent. Okay, 78.79. We only got a 1 penny spread in between, right? We definitely have some contracts there, so I don't have to worry about it. So what is the difference between bid and ask? When should you really start thinking, oh, this is not good? When it's about 30 cents or more. So 30 is my cap rule. If it's over 30 cents, then I'm not going to get into it. The spread is too wide. And so when the spread is wide like that and a position goes against you, it becomes wider. So I don't want to do that because then it puts me in that Hotel California. I can check in, but I can never leave. And what that means is that you're trying to get out of your contract and you're lowering your price and you're lowering your price and you're lowering your price and no one's buying it. And then that's it. You're just locked in of a loss regardless, even though you have some value there. So really very interesting. Once you experience it, you're like, I'm never going to do this again. And so if it hasn't happened to you already, good for you. Learn from everyone else's mistakes, including my own, so that it doesn't happen to you. So now we have our, what did we say, 1790. Let's go ahead and put that trade on. I'm just going to take an at the money, put debit spread. Let me get over here to the verticals. That's always an easy way to do it. And then now I'm just going to hit buy. My order comes up. And I'm going to go into the order rules form, which is that little tiny gear icon. Once you click it, your rules come up. And then now I'm just going to just start clicking. And then this is a put. So I do want the first trigger, right? Less than or equal to. And you can see right here, the security is less than or equal to. I'm going to put into this box 1790 because that is the price that we want to see it go lower. Tab out of this box. Now there's only a penny difference, or now it's 2 pennies. I'm going to use, let's just say 22 cents. So 22 cents plus 25% is 27.5. So I can use 28 cents. I'm just going to change this to 28 and tab out. This is manual. Put this on good to cancel, or you can do it on the front side. And so now I'm protecting myself by not paying over 28 cents. If it's less, I'll be able to get it. Thinkorswim will give me the best price available. And we're waiting for Sophie to go below 1790 so that we can get into that put trade. Just save that. And then I want another first triggers a sequel. Then when I can right click anywhere and say create an opposite order. And the reason why we say that is because the buy order, right, is to buy, and an opposite of buy is to sell. And so that's why we actually say that. And so now that we have our sell order here, you could do this by price. You could do this by dollar amount. For me, for vertical spreads, I really like to just click trigger. That gives you your buttons here. Put it to percentage. I'm going to do another 25%. And remember, this is a really inexpensive stock. So, or expensive, well, it's an inexpensive stock. It's got a lot of, it's kind of momentum based. It's very thin, narrow bid and ask, which is awesome for options traders. And this allows you then for, even at 28 cents, right, you could get yourself a handful of contracts, if not more. And so when you take a look at it that way, and you have the added protection that it's a minimum, right? You're minimizing your risk. You're also minimizing your profit. But with wartime volatility, you want to make sure that you're always protecting your risk portfolio, okay? And so here now we have this completely set up. Confirm and send. Let's take a look at it and read it. And basically, when we get below 1790, we're not paying more than 28 cents. And at or below, and we're looking for a 25% take profit. So now we have a call and a put for both Sophie, right? And why do we do that? A lot of people ask, if you're, today the market is positive, right? But the problem is that, with wartime volatility, the market actually, you can be in calls on Monday and make profit, and then be in puts on Tuesday and make profit. And so because automation, it doesn't take very long to put on. Like it literally took, I walked you through each one of the steps and it took a couple minutes. So when we do this on Sunday night, as an example, we're putting on 5 to 7 tickers. It maybe will take you, especially once you're proficient, take you an hour if you're not proficient, take you about 20 minutes if you are. And then you can just set it and forget it. And you're really protected on both sides of this, whether the market's bullish or the market's bearish, or If we have one day we're bullish, one day we're bearish, I'm protected for both sides. So I don't have to have a market bias. Where in a normal market environment, you're really looking at the charts, and charting analysis is so important in a market environment. But when you have a news headline kind of events like we're having right now because of the war, that really changes things. And what that does mean is that, you're going to have these whipsaws, this washing machine, right, that we've seen. So with that in mind, that really is how you would, if you're interested in automation, go to tradingmadesimple.org. I'm Sandra, and really try to make this simple for you. It doesn't have to be difficult. Hope you have a great weekend.